A £400 energy bill discount for every household in the country to help with the cost of living.
A very good morning to you. It's 6 o'clock on Friday, the 27th of May. This is Breakfast on GB News with Anne Diamond and Paul Hawkins.
Yeah, we're live right across the UK on your TV, on your radio and online. So here are the stories you're waking up to this morning.
A £5 billion windfall tax, although he doesn't want to call it that, on the oil and gas giants will fund an emergency cost of living package. The Chancellor Rishi Sunak says he will give every household 400 quid and the poorest households over £1,000 towards their energy bills. Does this solve the cost of living crisis for you?
Meghan Markle has placed flowers at the memorial to the 19 children and 2 adults who died in the deadly school shooting in Texas. A spokesperson for the Duchess said the visit was in a personal capacity.
Also this morning, fish and chips could take a battering, apologies, a bit early for that, as Russian sanctions could hamper the export of white fish. The CEO of Harry Ramsden's joins us later on in the show. Plus...
All 4 members of Abba have reunited in London for the first time since 1982 for the opening night of their Voyage live show.
You can join in any of our discussions. Please get involved in the conversations. We love hearing from you. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
And do let us know what you think of the Abba reunion. It's not, although they got together in London to announce it, It's not them on stage, it's their avatars on stage.
It's kind of a virtual performance, isn't it?
But apparently it's incredible, and people are paying a fortune to go and watch them, even though they're not watching them. You see what I mean?
It must be good. It must be quite realistic.
I think it will be very, very good. If you're going, let us know. How have you managed to afford the ticket at the moment? But we're also wondering, what is the best ABBA song? There's been a huge debate in our newsroom, overnight, actually, as to which is the best ever ABBA song. Everybody has a view, and it's amazing how different those views are.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, I was looking through a list of them, and you kind of forget some of the classics. I'd forgotten about Waterloo until you mentioned it earlier. And I was thinking,
the one I immediately think of, Waterloo, but it's not my favourite, but it's the one I always think of.
Knowing Me, Knowing You.
Yeah. Well,
Mamma Mia.
I can't think of them
so
all
many.
at the moment.
I know.
But people are mad about ABBA. So if you are, let us know what you're doing about it. Are you going to come and see the concert? And what is your favourite ABBA song ever? And there are loads more things to talk about today, including, of course, why Paul is here. And Stephen isn't. He's still on his honeymoon at the moment, having a wonderful time, I gather. I've seen some pictures myself, and they look very, very happy indeed.
Yeah, so he'll be telling us about that, I imagine, when he gets back. So.
Meanwhile, I mean, there's so much to talk about today. First of all, the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, has announced a 15... Well, actually, it's a 21, isn't it, billion
Yeah, £21 billion.
If you take into account everything. £21 billion package of support for households struggling with the cost of living crisis, part funded by a £5 billion windfall tax. He doesn't call it a windfall tax, he calls it a levy.
Yeah, an energy profits levy.
Yeah. He just will not. He won't call it a tax, no. But it's on the energy companies, and these will include a £650 one-off payment for families on means-tested benefits, and £400 for all energy bill payers that will not have to be repaid. But campaigners, including the End Fuel Poverty Coalition, have urged the government to deliver an emergency budget, as Ofgem projections suggest that further energy bill rises this winter. We have Joe Gilbert, CEO of Customer Utility Bills Expertly Serviced, here. Hello there, Joe. Were you impressed? Were you impressed by what was announced yesterday?
I think any measures that the government are actually delivering are actually welcome. It will go a long way to addressing some of the households that were destined to actually fall into the fuel poverty bracket this winter, and indeed that have already fallen into the fuel poverty bracket following the 1st of April price cap increase. But what we're seeing in real terms is a predicted £1,523 increase since last October's price increase. So in 12 months, energy bills going up by £1,500. And the measures for the majority of households are a £400 discount. So with wages not increasing and cost of living going up, £400, there's still quite a deficit there of £1,100 that, some households are struggling to actually, cover. So they will suffer. But yeah, I mean, any package is welcome.
Yeah, but some of that support is targeted, isn't it, Joe? There's £650 for low-income households, £150 for those who have a disability, £300 for pensioners. There is targeted support in there. This is a significant chunk of money that the government's giving away.
So, yeah, I mean, there's £650 extra for 800 million families on universal credit. Obviously, there's the £150 council tax rebate that's already available for those paying by direct debit. And if you're not on direct debit, you need to go onto the local authority's website and make sure you filled out the form and claimed that £150 rebate. So there is money available, and there's also an awful lot of benefits as well that are unclaimed in the UK at the moment. So it's really important that people go and check the benefits that they're entitled to, because there is funding available for them. I think the measures announced yesterday was a missed opportunity by the Chancellor to actually make improvements to the EPC efficiency of a lot of the households in the UK. And many households, hundreds of thousands of them, fall below the recommended C rating or above. So there could have been additional measures announced where there would be additional financial support, where households could actually have energy efficiency improved in their home. I would like to see more local generation within people's homes, so that people are actually not so reliant on wholesale costs and these fluctuating prices and price hikes, so that we can take back more control at a local level. Also, what we'd like to see is financial support for those households that are on oil, LPG and coal. That they really are struggling with these price increases. And additionally, households that are on community schemes where they're part of a landlord supply and the cost of energy has now been included in rent payments, and those rent payments are going up, they won't be feeling the benefit of these measures. So there are pockets of, groups of customers that are really going to struggle with this.
And there are long-term needs to be addressed. But in the short term, at least in the short term, at least this is money going straight into people's bank accounts, I gather.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's, like I say, it is a very welcome package that the Chancellor has announced. It does feel a little bit like a sticking plaster approach, the usual quick fix, but it is, like I say, it is needed, and it's cash in real terms to help support people in the here and now. But we do need longer term measures that will improve the efficiency of people's homes, and also that reform of the energy market, so we can have means tested tariff, perhaps social tariff, or with the Fuel Poverty Coalition. We've actually asked for an £1,800 benefit straight into those households, a mean tested benefit for those that are forecast to fall into fuel poverty.
Sounds like you would agree with the Institute for Fiscal Studies assessment that there's going to be more and more pressure on Rishi Sunak to come back with more packages in the absence of a long-term strategy.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you think people will know? I mean, I'm thinking that there are a lot of people who've been in touch with us over the last few weeks, worried about fuel poverty, worried they can't pay their bills, who actually don't have bank accounts. Do we know what's going to be done to enable them to access this money?
So there are a lot of consumers that are on prepayment meters, and we believe that those prepayment meters, the credit will be placed directly onto the actual meter themselves. So that, or you'll be able to go and collect the credit from where you would normally top up that prepayment meter. I think the finer detail of how that credit will get to those customers is yet to be decided, but Ofgem will be looking at that with the energy supply community of how we actually, how that is delivered to those consumers who are on prepayment.
It's interesting, isn't it, that even the Bank of England is warning that prices are probably going to escalate even further, particularly fuel prices. And you look back and you think, why didn't we address this years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. So, fuel poverty has been around for a very, very long time. Prior to last October's price increase and price cap increase, there were 3.6 million households in fuel poverty. And that's forecast to increase to 12 million this October. Obviously, those numbers will be adjusted now based on the package that the Chancellor's announced. But still, 3.6 million prior to this, when bills were around the £1,200 mark, that's still a significant volume of households that are choosing between heating or eating, and parents that are skipping meals, and, school children going to school, and they're going to school not having had breakfast or hungry. It's really sad times, and that we're relying as well, these households relying on so many food banks in the UK. So there is so much more that needs to be done in the longer term. Absolutely.
Start yesterday. Joe Gilbert, thanks very much indeed for joining us. It's interesting, I got a leaflet through the front door just the other day from the council offering some sort of a package deal. They're calling it an auction on solar panels.
Right.
They're saying, we're doing a survey. If you want to join in, do. If you've got a south-facing roof or something like that, and you might be interested in solar panels, we, the council, are looking into different schemes. No mention of cost at all. Just, you've got to show whether you're interested up front.
Right, OK.
And then apparently solar panel providers bid for your custom.
Right, OK. And does that sound appealing to you?
Very at the moment, but no mention of cost at all. No mention whether it be 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 to get, because I've got a south-facing roof, to get that roof covered with solar panels. I've always been interested in the idea of it.
But the cost is a big factor, isn't it?
Well, it's a huge factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it would be years before you actually saw the benefit, I think.
Yes, yeah.
But isn't that interesting that the council has actually got involved in saying it's a reverse auction? We get the suppliers to bid for your custom instead of you bidding for theirs.
That's a different way of doing things. I haven't heard any council doing that. So that's really interesting.
Council, that is. If you've heard anything like that, maybe we are all having to get to grips with energy supply.
Yeah, indeed. And also, I'm interested to find out this morning, those of you who are uncomfortable with Rishi Sunak taxing so much and giving away so much. On a pragmatic level, obviously, it helps a lot of people, but many Conservative MPs, not least, are uncomfortable with Rishi Sunak's level of tax and spending, some saying it's very unconservative. They're feeling...
Well, he must be probably the first Conservative Chancellor to ever give away so much money. I mean, not, because of the pandemic and because of this crisis. But have you ever known a Chancellor give away to actually give cash to people?
Yeah, and he continues to sort of parrot the line that he is a tax cutter, and yet he's raising taxes. So, in fact, he doesn't even want to call it a tax,
no, that's
does he?
why he doesn't want to call it.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to call it, an energy profits levy. It's an energy profits levy, everyone. It's not a tax. Don't mention the word tax. So, just wondering how you feel about that this morning.
Get in touch
at gbnews.uk.
Meanwhile, let's bring you up to date with what's going on today.
Yeah.
As we were saying, Rishi Sunak has denied using a £21 billion support package to deflect revelations over lockdown parties. At number 10, the Chancellor says the cash boost was not unveiled quickly as a fig leaf, and the timing was purely down to greater certainty over what's going to happen to energy prices this autumn.
Also this morning, cleaners and security guards will protest outside Downing Street later amid anger over revelations in the Sue Gray report about the way staff were treated in number 10. United Voices of the World, that's a union which represents domestic and security workers in government buildings, says they're protesting against the culture of disrespect.
The British Transport Police are the first force to arm volunteer officers with tasers in England and Wales. Amnesty International UK says the move is dangerous and warns it could lead to misuse, serious harm or even death.
Closing arguments are due in the £40 million defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. The Pirates of the Caribbean star is suing his former partner over a 2018 article she wrote in the Washington Post, which his lawyers say falsely implied he physically and sexually abused her. Let's bring you the latest on the situation in Texas now. The husband of one of the teachers killed in Tuesday's mass shooting in Uvalde has reportedly died of a heart attack.
Isn't it terrible? Joe Garcia was the husband of Irma, one of the teachers at the school where 21 people died, including 19 children. The couple were married for 24 years and have 4 children.
We're joined now by the Professor of International Politics at the University of Birmingham, Professor David Dunn. David, a very good morning to you. This is more terrible news emerging from Texas.
It adds tragedy to tragedy. It's an awful situation, but one that we should expect to continue. Unfortunately, there is little prospect of any serious reform or even any minor reform to America's gun laws.
It is barely believable, I think, to us in this country that these mass shootings happen time and again, and yet the politicians remain completely divided on it, and nobody seems to do anything. I mean, even President Joe Biden said that. When are we actually going to face up to this? And the truth is that, frankly, America is the only place where this happens on this sort of scale, isn't it?
Absolutely. Every other country in the world that have had in the past gun violence, like the UK did with Dunblane in the 1990s, have instituted reforms that ban all assault weapons. And of course, in the UK and Japan and many other countries, even handguns are banned or heavily restricted. So the United States is in a unique position. And it's in a unique position for a variety of reasons. It's partly the geography and the history of America. Lots of large areas. People feel that police response will be very slow, so they want to be armed in order to deal with any threat that arises. That legacy of the Wild West, of that violence, means that there's an ingrained tradition of being armed to deal with that very violent culture. It's also one which reflects the insecurity of the United States, in that people feel anxious about other communities. There's a deep racial tensions in America and many parts of the country, and that fuels it. It's often framed as the freedom to bear arms, but it reflects an insecurity about personal safety and the threat of violence. So all those things together create that culture. And then the political system has the effect of making it very difficult to enact any reforms, particularly the primary process. Because what happens there is that only the active 10% of Republicans who are very strong-minded on this issue are the ones that turn up and vote in primary elections. And what that means is that vocal 10% have a disproportionate influence on the choice of candidates. And if you add to that the funding of the National Rifle Association that will use their resources to publicise any comments that suggest gun reform by any candidates in that primary process, and you find that candidates are selected or deselected on the basis only of their views on gun controls. So within the Republican Party, but also even in the Democratic Party, but primarily the Republican Party, what it means is that no candidate can even hint at any slight change in gun laws. And if you go back to the Bush Senior administration, he brought in a ban on assault rifles, and other things have been banned in the past. But the power of the National Rifle Association and that primary process in conjunction mean that actually now it's almost impossible to get anything enacted that could limit in any way even things like assault rifles or the use of body armor, like this unfortunate murderer did in this case, that made it very difficult to the police to respond quickly and bring this to a conclusion. So the agony of this particular mass shooting was extended over an hour because he had body armor as well as assault rifles, so that police who arrived only had handguns, didn't have body armor, and weren't able to actually deal with it until a border patrol, a tactical team, came in on the situation and were able to actually use overwhelming force to deal with the situation. So it's a whole conjunction of tragic elements that make this situation so prevalent and so often repeated.
And David, just explain for us, I mean, central to this argument, those who don't want to see restrictions on their use of their guns, like the Second Amendment. You mentioned it there, the right to bear arms. It's part of the American Constitution. which is a sacred document that it feels like it will never be changed. And can it be changed? I don't know. Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, again, it's a constitutional requirement. It's a well-regulated militia in order for the common defence. The citizens have the right to bear arms. It's actually to do with militias. It's not to do with ownership of handguns. But the interpretation of that has changed over time. So actually, in the 1970s, there were many more restrictions on gun ownership than there are today. But it's a consequence of America's drift to the right. And the Republican Party's drift to the right in particular means that actually the views on gun control have got harder and harder rather than be reformed. So while the rest of the world has restricted gun control and has gun ownership and has, as a consequence, brought down the prevalence of these mass shooter attacks, the United States has gone the other direction. So actually, you see, it has a Second Amendment it become a fixed part of the Constitution. It's a fixed part of the Constitution, but the interpretation of it is done in a way that actually makes the situation worse. The prospect of it being changed is almost impossible. To change the US Constitution requires 2/3 of the Senate and approval at state level. That's not going to happen. And in fact, as I say, because of the primary process, but also because of the overrepresentation of rural populations in the Senate by virtue of the fact that, for example, Wyoming, which is a big gun-supporting state, has a population of 500,000. They have 2 senators. California, that has 39 million people, and it will be more pro gun control, also has 2 senators. So that disproportionate representation of rural conservative states in the Senate by that constitutional system as well results in a bias in the Senate, which again makes it very difficult to enact reforms that would have this impact.
It's absolutely terrible, isn't it, in our view, but there are a lot of Republicans in America who still say that it's not guns that kill people, it's people that kill people, and they just happen to use a gun.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave it there. Professor David Dunn, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's just so terrible when you also realise that we talk about 19 children being killed, 2 teachers, but of course the fallout is greater than that, isn't it? It's a whole community. Yeah. There were obviously children injured as well who are still in hospital. Yeah. But then we learn overnight of the husband of one of the women teachers who was gunned down. He has died overnight, and his relatives are saying, I truly believe Joe died of a broken heart, and losing the love of his life of more than 30 years was too much for him to bear. But they leave 4 children now. Yeah. 4 orphaned children. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it is horrific, isn't it? Yeah, do let us know what you've thought about what David Dunn had to say. By the way, get involved in any of the conversations.
Yeah, President Obama tweeted, didn't he? There we are. We're just looking at a picture there of Joe Garcia and his wife Irma. Irma was gunned down by the gunman. Joe died last night, his relatives believe, of a broken heart. 4 children aged between 13 and 23 now have lost both their parents. And still there are people in America who think it's OK and every right to carry guns like that.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, President Obama tweeted as well, gun reform, it's too late. It's just too late.
Yeah, well, he tried to change the law, and actually, Joe Biden said that he would try and change the gun laws and at least bring in some sort of checks on owners and those who have guns. And there is a piece of legislation making its way through Congress, but it's completely ground to a halt. Of course, the Democrats have a very slim majority in the Senate, but there are still too many.
Congress, isn't it? It's Congress that's always the problem in the bloc.
Yeah, and in the Senate, there are still too many Democrats who are against checks on gun owners, so it's still difficult for them to get that piece of legislation through Congress. Do let us know what you think of that, by the way. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Also, your favourite Abba song. Don't forget that. We have to have lighter things to talk about too.
Yeah.
Do stay with us, because we've got plenty more to come, including how can protein drinks help diabetics?
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update. Bit of a chilly one out there this morning, but for most of us it's going to be a fine Friday with dry, bright weather, plenty of sunshine and lighter winds compared to yesterday. High pressure is slowly moving in and breaking up this weather front, bringing, as I say, for most of us a fine day. But notice the isobars fairly close together there across Scotland, so still quite windy here with a fair few showers coming in, mostly north of the central belt. But showers on the heavy side in places this morning before easing off this afternoon. From the central belt southwards, the vast majority staying dry. Certainly plenty of sunshine across the Midlands, Wales, southern and eastern England, and lighter winds compared to yesterday. And although it's a bit fresh out there right now, temperatures ticking up by this afternoon, feeling pretty pleasant, 21, maybe 22 Celsius. Cooler further north and certainly still pretty fresh for the time of year in northern Scotland with a few showers and a stiff wind. The showers will continue to fade through this evening. Most of us are going to be dry. Temperatures will drop quite sharply this evening though, so bear that in mind if you have outdoor plans. It's going to be another chilly one tonight and a pretty cold start to Saturday for the time of year, well down into single figures. Certainly in rural areas we could be as low as 2 or 3 degrees. So yes, chilly for Saturday morning, but again, it's going to be a blue sky morning, lots of sunshine around. Again, the main exception will be northeast Scotland, where it'll still be breezy with maybe a few showers. Cloud is expected to develop through the day tomorrow, particularly over eastern England. There's a small chance of a shower or two here, but for most it's going to stay dry. Again, temperature's not spectacular, but feeling okay in the sunshine. A cooler feel on some of these North Sea coasts as that northerly breeze continues. And that's going to be very evident on Sunday, bringing much more cloud across the country. Quite a grey day and a chilly day as well. But still on Sunday, many of us will be dry.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Anne and Paul. And we're live across the UK on both your TV and your radio.
Yep, really good to have you with us this morning. It is 6:28. Let's bring you up to date with what is happening with the situation at EasyJet, which cancelled 200 flights across the country after the budget airline was plagued by IT problems yesterday.
Yeah, it's one thing after another, isn't it? Apparently, the technical problems have now been resolved, but chaos, of course, still ensues as the airline tries to resume normal service. Simon Calder, obviously. We're going to Simon now to tell us more. Hello. Hello, Simon. Where are you this time? Hi.
I'm at Heathrow Airport, where in fact things are going pretty smoothly. EasyJet, of course, doesn't fly from here. British Airways does. They have cancelled over 120 short-haul domestic and European flights, but they did that a week or two ago, and so therefore passengers have had plenty of time to make alternative arrangements. That's not the same at EasyJet, because you've got about 30,000 people who were on those 200-plus flights yesterday who are waking up this morning out of position, wondering how they're going to get to their...
We have a bad connection, I think, with Simon there.
Yeah. Are we going to get Simon back?
We'll keep trying to get Simon back.
Yeah.
I must say, it's one thing after another with air travel at the moment. And, of course, it is half-term coming up.
Yeah.
And so a lot of families will be trying to get away, as will we all.
Yes.
And I know my son was coming back from Rome the other day, and they were kept waiting on the tarmac. They landed, kept waiting on the tarmac for 3/4 of an hour, and the pilot said it was because they couldn't get ground crew to bring the stairs up to the aircraft.
Well, there wasn't enough ground.
They said we can't get them. We can't actually get hold of them. We're still trying.
Right.
And when my son went on Twitter to try to moan about it, he found that exactly the same thing had happened the day before.
Yeah,
So
I know they've had a
clearly-
problem with the recruitment because since obviously the travel industry is now trying to expand post-pandemic, they've had to re-recruit all those people. So they do have a staff shortage at the moment.
He
I'm
took a
wondering if that's
picture of the
part
stairs that were outside. They were literally outside the aircraft, and he said you could almost reach out and just pull them in, and we could have got off the aircraft.
We could have done it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll probably
So
be
I think
Ryanair's next
we've
thing, I think.
re-established contact with Simon. Can you hear us again, Simon?
You're sounding great, yes. Take a chance on me, I guess, would have to be the...
Oh!
Good morning. I'm here all week. Now, let me talk about the situation for those 200 passengers, 200 flights. So there's 30,000 people out of position, including people who are hoping to get from Belfast to Corfu, from Liverpool to Dalaman, from Gatwick to Hurghada. All of them stuck where they are. And of course, at the other end, you've got 180 or so people per flight who are not where they need to be either. It's, I'm afraid, getting worse before it gets better this morning. I've seen 14 new cancellations to and from Gatwick Airport this morning. That's the main base for EasyJet, including flights to Milan, to Mallorca. They have been grounded this morning. So people will have woken up in the early hours to get their early flight, only to be told it's been cancelled. Really important to let people know what their rights are. The airline absolutely has to get you to your destination as early as it can, including if it needs to book a flight on a different airline to get you there. And while you're waiting...
Simon again.
Hello, Simon.
How frustrating. Anyway, I think he got his main points over.
Yeah.
There's no doubt there are some airlines that are better than others at keeping you informed and letting you know what's going on.
Indeed, and actually I was listening to Simon yesterday and he was explaining how you are entitled to compensation. I think it's 350 quid or is it £350 to 250, £350 worth of compensation. There is legislation that covers that, but it's only if it's the airline's fault. And he did speak to EasyJet and EasyJet said it's not our fault. And then he went back to me and went, well, it is your fault because it's your IT issue. And then later they rolled back on that and said, actually, it is our fault. We are going to compensate.
But if you've been kept waiting for hours at an airport, or if you've already left home and you maybe have booked a hotel to stay overnight before you catch an early flight, and then that whole trip is wasted because your airline, your flight has been cancelled, 250 quid doesn't quite cover it, does it?
No,
really?
it doesn't. No. So, do let us know if you've been affected by that EasyJet disruption, gbviews@gbnews.uk. A lot of you getting in touch with us on a range of different subjects this morning, including, as Simon was alluding to there, Abba songs.
Well, we're talking Abba because Abba are now in Britain. The real people are in Britain launching their new show, Voyage. Is it Voyage? Yeah.
Voyage?
That's what I was wondering. Is it Voyage?
It could be.
But apparently it's a mega concert that's going to feature them as avatars, or avatars as them.
Yeah.
And so you will be able to actually experience what it would have been like in the late 70s, early 80s, to go to an Abba concert and see them at their peak.
Yeah, surely this is the start. I'm going slightly off on the tone. Surely this is the start of we're going to see lots of concerts like this now. So you'll see...
Well, you see, Mick Jagger could retire now, can't he? Because his avatar will take over and just keep doing concerts.
But you could go all the way back. You could have concerts with Elvis, right? How far back can you go? Mozart? I don't know.
I don't think you could do Elvis because in order to create their avatars, Abba had to be... They had to be covered in those funny little... sensor things.
Okay.
And computer their images, yes, motion capture. And they had to go through all of that in order to create these avatars.
Maybe not
So
Elvis.
maybe you wouldn't be able to do it with Elvis.
Right, OK.
But Cliff could go on singing for decades, couldn't he?
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
Who would you like to see as an avatar?
Yeah.
Who would you like to see if you possibly... Sinatra, no, you see, you wouldn't be able to do it probably with them, although technology is making anything possible. Shelley says SOS is the best ABBA song.
Yeah, and Wade says, and we didn't know this one, best ABBA song, Slipping Through My Fingers.
I didn't know that one.
I hadn't heard of that
ballads,
one.
I think.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Keith in southern Hungary says, I live in Hungary now, but I will be driving over for the concert on July the 1st. My favourite is Thank You for the Music.
Yeah.
It's a very good one, that. They knew what they were doing when they recorded that one, didn't they?
Yeah.
David says, I would love to see the ABBA concert. The best track is Thank You for the Music. 1977, that was.
Yeah, do keep them coming in this morning, by the way. Your favourite ABBA song?
Days of flared trousers and glittery headbands and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty yuck, really, wasn't it? But
yeah.
Only ABBA could carry it.
I don't remember. I remember hearing about it, I would say.
I was going to say.
I was going to say, yeah.
You're far too young. Even I am, actually. I mean, I didn't live through that, the bell-bottom glittery jeans and things like that.
Yeah, I was always fascinated by flares growing up. Flares and bell-bottoms.
Flares were lethal.
Is there a difference between flares and bell-bottoms?
Not really, no. No, one was a just more trendy way of, how fashionistas have to rebrand things. But they were lethal because you were wearing them with high-heeled boots and they would trip you up and you'd trip over your own trousers because there was so much flapping around down there beneath your knees. They were really lethal. I remember falling over once or twice because my bell-bottoms got mixed up with my feet.
Yeah, never happened with today's elfin safety.
No, it's all skinny jeans now.
Indeed, yeah. So we're talking about ABBA all this morning. Keep them coming in. Also, we're going to be talking about fish and chips because there is the government slapping tariffs on Russian fish, which accounts for 30% of our imports.
So when you go to your local chippy, will you be able to get the sort of cod and haddock that you're used to?
Yeah.
Maybe not. We'll be finding out a bit more about that later on.
Yeah, and also talking about On Your Doorstep in just a minute. Eddie Costello is out and about. We'll find out where in just a moment. Stay with us.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
we embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Paul and Anne. We're live across the UK on both your TV and your radio. So don't forget, if you're watching us anywhere in the world on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Then you can do the app, and then you can do DAB+, which I still haven't got fixed in my car yet. So I take the app with me and just play it.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, you connect it to the car
phone.
radio. Yeah, you can do that as well. Basically, we're everywhere. We're on everything and everywhere.
Exactly. Let us know where you're watching and your favourite Abba song, because that's really important today.
Yeah, GB Views at gbnews.uk. It's 6:39. Let's go through the front pages this morning, which, no surprise, they've all got this man on it, Rishi Sunak. The Mirror starting with "About time, Rishi." The Mirror says the Chancellor is finally helping struggling families 5 months after the paper and Labour demanded it.
Yeah. They're claiming that as a victory. The Daily Express has the headline, Rishi's £1,200 boost for 8 million people, calling the Chancellor's energy bill a lifeline.
Yeah, The Times says the Tories are split on the tax and spending bonanza. A number of ministers believed to be reticent over the impact of the windfall tax on investment plans in the North Sea.
The Daily Mail has been cautious on the Chancellor's plan, asking when will Tories get back to just cutting taxes?
Yeah. Let's go through the papers now. Joining us this morning, it is Ella Whelan and Benedict Spence.
Morning to you, Ella.
Morning to you, Benedict. First of all, what do you make of Rishi Sunak's spending splurge yesterday, Benedict?
Well, something needed to be done to alleviate the suffering of the millions of the poorest people in this country who will be very badly hit by things like energy price rises, food price rises and all that. So something did need to be done. However, certainly the days of the Tory party being the sort of the neoliberal Thatcherites of the world, I think you could say are well and truly dead and buried if the pandemic hadn't already done that. The Tories are now addicted to spending money that they don't currently have in the bank. And, you know, I think it's very telling that, you know, we're talking about a £5 billion windfall tax. But the total cost of all of this, according to every newspaper, according to the Chancellor, is 21 billion. So, you know, you're kind of sat there going, that doesn't sound, you know, entirely promising, given that it's not just a cost of living crisis. We are sort of plunging forward into a global recession. And not just on the front page of The Telegraph, actually. Fraser Nelson, the editor of The Spectator, has a column inside the paper saying as much, that actually, whilst this will stave off a lot of suffering for a lot of people in the short term, long term, this is going to harm the British economy going forward. When a recovery does come, it's going to sort of taper it off a little bit.
But Rishi Sunak says he can handle that.
Well, that's good to know from Rishi Sunak. You know, it doesn't actually go into any great details as to how we're going to do that.
He is extraordinary, isn't he? I mean, for a Conservative Chancellor, he's given away more money than you can remember.
It's hard to understand what Rishi Sunak's politics really is, because throughout the pandemic, for obvious reasons, he took some extraordinary measures. But there has always been this tension between Sunak and the rest of Cabinet, and particularly Johnson, in terms of what kind of Conservative Party he wants to portray. And you know, there's a reason, I think he quite enjoys the idea that he is the nice Chancellor and the one who gets all the kudos for doing the good thing by giving out more money. And that has been a source of kind of conflict particularly between him and Johnson in the past. But if you just get into the spread in the Mail here, goes into the detail of what this will actually mean for each section of society and different people. And you have, for example, energy bill discounts of £400, and that's for everyone across the board. You then have £650 for a one-off payment, and these are all grants, not payments that will have to be repaid, which was previously suggested, you know, that 200 quid that you would have to pay back in instalments. 650 for people on universal credit and things like that. Pensioners with £300, and people on disability benefits 150. Which, yes, it is generous. There's no one questioning that. But in the context of, you know, in the last sort of month, we've seen prices jump. First of all, it was sort of, there's going to be an extra few hundred on your energy bill. And then next thing, in a few weeks, we hear, well, actually, it might be £2,600. And in that context, £400 is nothing, really. And the bigger question is, and you know, with Benedict's, you know, qualms about spending on board, The problem is if you have, this kind of stay of execution, which essentially this is by means of a handout, is very welcome and it's necessary, and he couldn't have done anything else. And, I don't often defend the Labour Party, but I think, it is pretty ridiculous that they have basically the Conservative Party's played a political game. Everyone knew they were going to go for the windfall tax. They just didn't want to do it
not a tax.
quick enough.
Don't mention the T word. It's not a tax.
It's
Energy profits levy.
Energy profits levy, yeah. It's a bit like, what kind of spin of words. But the bigger question is, all of this would be able to be absorbed and would be sort of less paltry and less frightening at the same time if there was a long-term plan for economic growth, if there was a long-term plan for, policy on energy in terms of whether it's nuclear power, fracking, whatever it is. But there's none of that. And so then this really is just a stay of execution. I can imagine we'll be in the same place next year.
That's so interesting. I was talking to someone in Uxbridge High Street yesterday. I was out getting the public's reaction, and one man said to me, he said, you can't just keep coming back to the Commons and giving out money. What's the long-term plan?
I think Ella touches upon something that's very important, which is it's very important for Mr Sunak to be liked, and we all know it's also very important for Mr Johnson to be liked. There's been a hollowing out of the ideological core of the Conservative Party. I don't really care which side it is, whether you're sort of an old-school Conservative or a free market sort of Conservative. Realistically, you need a long-term strategy, and I think, again, touching on a lack of energy policy, which is what we're really talking about here, there isn't really one beyond, sort of these mealy-mouthed talking about net zero, which, when you really get into it, is not actually a particularly cost-effective or wonderful strategy when you consider the knock-on effects it has to things like fertiliser production, to things like construction, all of these.
We are investing more in nuclear energy, aren't we?
Well, we are, but we should have been doing this, and people have been saying this for days. And this is the thing that really kind of very much irritates me, is when we're talking about this now, and lots of people are going, oh, well, Russia was unforeseen. No, lots of people have been talking about this for a very long time, but successive governments, because let's be honest, Boris Johnson hasn't been Prime Minister for this whole time. We had Theresa May, we had David Cameron before. Actually, they've talked about these sort of things. They've paid lip service to it. What has actually happened? Very little. And now we find ourselves in this position where people are saying, finally, right, we'll start investing in energy, we'll start investing in this, that and the other. But the point is the horse has already bolted, and we are going to be lumped with an absolute, a huge amount of debt. And as much as it says that these are grants that don't need to be paid back, yes, they absolutely
and do you think,
need to be paid back at some point.
The Tory critics of Rishi Sunak's statement yesterday are saying that the trouble is if you remove the incentive for some of the oil companies, for instance, to invest in more in North Sea exploration and things like that, if you remove their incentive, then they will go away, and BP has already said they might.
Well, this is the thing, but as I say, though, it's...
But if you're poor, you can't afford to take a long-term
But of course, that is
strategy.
the issue. It's an incredibly frustrating thing, because right now, actually, what else can Rishi Sunak do, especially with the Labour Party sort of banging on, saying X, Y, Z has to be done, and you're sort of looking around going, well, beyond cutting taxes, which would probably be a very good idea, but we can't because we've already jacked them all up because we spent a lot of money on the pandemic. What else is there to do? As I say, they've painted themselves into a corner. It's far more important for these two men, Johnson and Sunak, to be popular rather than sort of be ideologically driven or to be consistent. And that is the state of the government that we currently have, which is why ultimately, I think personally, we find ourselves in the mess that we are. A lack of coherence when it comes to strategy in favour of PR, effectively.
GB Views at gbnews.uk if you want to feed back to us on that one this morning. Ella, what else has caught your eye in the papers?
We're running out of time, I think. We've only got time for one more, so let's go for something nice and juicy. What about, it's either fish and chips or Abba. What do you fancy? Or both together.
Abba?
Let's do Abba, because the interesting thing, everyone's sort of celebrating the return or the holographic return of the band. And this piece in the Times talks about the fact that, while everyone will be, I think, initially excited by the idea, the band does have to recuperate £140 million in costs, because it's, in terms of they had, the special effects from the studio behind Star Wars, the kind of motion capture suits that they wore, all the incredible amount of stuff that went into producing this costs eye-watering amounts. And the band has a particular kind of stance when it comes to advertising. They won't take any big sponsors. They won't take any commercial advertising. They are only going with one, Ocean Bird, which is a kind of environmentally conscious organisation that they work with. So their whole aspiration is to get back the money through tickets. And they've only sold 380,000. That's a huge amount. It's very successful. But there's the Times is talking about there being some nerves as to whether or not this will continue into the long run. Because next to this piece about the £140 million pound cost is a review that says holograms are fine, but the real thing is still best, which I think a lot of people might feel.
Yeah,
But you can't see them. You can't see the real thing now because they're older.
Of course.
And if you want to see them as they were in their heyday...
Is that a bit ageist?
No, that's why they say they've done it.
Oh, well,
because
true.
They
Yeah,
just don't
fair
look
enough.
the same anymore. And of course not. I mean, it's 40 years later.
Well, I mean, I think Die Hard fans wouldn't care what they look like or what they sound like. They are still, quite clearly, if they were able to produce this thing, they are still good performers. Fair enough if they want to. You know, interviews have said that some of them are saying, I'm looking forward to being able to be gardening, knowing that I'm playing in London or Belgium or wherever else. But there is that it's an interesting thing, which is that I'm going to read the reviews of it across the papers today because I can't help but thinking, and I love Abba, and Take a Chance on Me is my favourite song. If this doesn't just feel like watching a film or something like that, and I think that might reflect people's desire to, in the long run, go and see it.
Yeah. Is it a world tour?
They have aspirations for it, so it's going to initially be in the UK, and they say that there is a particular love they have for Brits and that we have for them. There's a kind of relationship there with ABBA. But that, it sort of sounds like in the Times that they're saying if that doesn't go as successfully as we think it's going to, we're going to take it across the world. Or you could read it in that if it goes incredibly successfully, they could be playing all over the place. And also the thing is that they can play simultaneously. So this is the exciting thing about a hologram. You could be in all places at once.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the Midas touch, though, don't they? ABBA. Everything they do seems to be high quality and awfully well done and terribly, terribly popular.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're seasoned performers, so it'd be interesting to see how many people buy those tickets. Thanks, guys. Ella, Benedict, thank you. More from them to come throughout the morning.
Yeah, and it's exactly 10 to 7, actually. It's 9 minutes to 7. No, it's 10 to 7. Is it? What is it?
It's 10 to 7.
Thank you. OK, thank you. It's time now for On Your Doorstep. And our southeast of England reporter Ellie Costello is live with us now in Colchester, which is one of the UK's newest cities to be. Good morning, Ellie. Are you there? Oh, she's rushing to the wherever.
Yeah, Colchester,
Morning
Colchester City.
both of you.
Hello.
Yes, we're in Colchester today, which is the newest town in Britain. It's one of the 8 towns that's been given city status for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. And it's quite nice, actually, because during the Roman times, this was the capital city of England. So it's almost come full circle now. So we're going to be here all morning talking to people about what it means for their town to become a city. We're going to knock on this door first. Oh. We're being summoned. They've said, come in. Good morning, good morning. You are live on TV and radio on GB News. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Andy Charvella and I'm a personal trainer here in Colchester.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is a great space here. Absolutely love it. But this has caught my eye over here. Talk to me about this.
Well, before I became personal trainer, I was in the Army, the 1st Battalion of the Royal Anglian Regiment for 22 years. And these are my medals that I gained while I was in the Army. This one here, Northern Ireland Medal. You've got Bosnia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Jubilee medals, and accumulated service, meaning I served over 36 months on tours.
So how long were you in the Army? Because that's a lot of medals there. You must be so proud.
About 22 years and that's very proud.
Oh,
my
congratulations.
Which is great.
Yes, and who's this in this picture here? Because this is a great picture here.
This guy at the top is my grandfather, Major Murch, who's in the physical training corps in the armed forces. So similar to what I do now, fitness, and that's what he loved. He was a gymnast.
So this is in the genes, very much so.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there about the Jubilee medals.
Yeah.
How does it feel that Colchester's now going to become a city?
Well, it's great, isn't it? We're a great city anyway, and we've got great links with the garrison, the military here. We've got a great university at the road, but hopefully more investment, more tourism. The city's great anyway, close to London, so it means the world.
Yeah, it must be so special for you as well with those military connections. What was that transition like for you from soldier to PT?
Any ex-soldier tell you it's difficult, but we manage with the discipline we have in the armed forces. We just get on with it and we do what needs, or what's required. So, yeah, it's really hard.
Well, you're a massive success story. This is a fantastic space
Thank you
here.
very much.
And we've got the Jubilee celebrations coming up next weekend. What have you got in store?
Langenhill, our village here, has got a lot going on the green over there, barbecues, get together with the local families. So, yeah, we're going to pop over there and deal with the local community. So it'd be great.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Andy, I hope you really, really enjoy your celebrations. Thank you so much for having us with you this morning. Great to see your working space here, and thank you so much for your service. 22 years in the British Army. How incredible. Well, Anne and Paul, we're going to be in Colchester all morning talking to local people about issues that matter to them and, of course, getting their reaction to the fact that their town has now become a city for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee.
Brilliant. Ellie, thanks very much. It looks as though it's going to turn out nicely there in Colchester. The sun's beginning to come out. Yeah. Thanks very much. To get pottering in the garden. Yeah. Lots of people getting in touch. Thank you very much with your favourite Abba song. But actually, also, it's funny, polarised views on Rishi Sunak and what he announced yesterday. Yeah.
Brett says, my real world energy has gone from £25 per week to £75 per week. That's £50 per week. £2,600 per year, which I can't afford. So I have to choose between food and energy. Sunak totally missed the target and sorted out his mates with a nice tax cut. I don't remember there being
his mates a tax cut.
I don't, yeah. Not quite sure what you mean about that, Brett.
It's interesting as well. He said, Rishi Sunak said that if you feel that you are well off and you don't need the £400 that we're all going to get, then you will be invited to pay it back into the Treasury. And he said he'll be doing that.
Yeah, and some people I know are going to make donations as well to fuel poverty
So
groups.
they should. Shelley says, I understand that people will struggle through the cost of living crisis and will have to cut back. But the government cannot and should not be expected to cover the costs for every low-income household for every crisis. It has to stop, and people have to ride the storm. Cut back and get into work if not currently working. We cannot continue with this level of government spending.
Yeah, just let us know whether you agree with Shelley or not. Lots of you feeling uncomfortable with the Chancellor spending so much and taxing so much. Is he still a true Conservative? GB Views at gbnews.uk.
And stay with us because we've got plenty more to come on that subject and more.
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update. Bit of a chilly one out there this morning, but for most of us it's going to be a fine Friday with dry, bright weather, plenty of sunshine and lighter winds compared to yesterday. High pressure is slowly moving in and breaking up this weather front, bringing, as I say, for most of us a fine day. But notice the isobars fairly close together there across Scotland, so still quite windy here with a fair few showers coming in, mostly north of the central belt. But showers on the heavy side in places this morning before easing off this afternoon. From the central belt southwards, the vast majority staying dry. Certainly plenty of sunshine across the Midlands, Wales, southern and eastern England, and lighter winds compared to yesterday. And although it's a bit fresh out there right now, temperatures ticking up by this afternoon, feeling pretty pleasant, 21, maybe 22 Celsius. Cooler further north and certainly still pretty fresh for the time of year in northern Scotland with a few showers and a stiff wind. The showers will continue to fade through this evening. Most of us are going to be dry. Temperatures will drop quite sharply this evening, though, so bear that in mind if you have outdoor plans. It's going to be another chilly one tonight and a pretty cold start to Saturday for the time of year, well down into single figures. Certainly in rural areas, we could be as low as 2 or 3 degrees. So, yes, chilly for Saturday morning, but again, it's going to be a blue sky morning, lots of sunshine around. Again, the main exception will be northeast Scotland, where it'll still be breezy with maybe a few showers. Cloud is expected to develop through the day tomorrow, particularly over eastern England. There's a small chance of a shower or two here, but for most it's going to stay dry. Again, temperature's not spectacular, but feeling okay in the sunshine. A cooler feel on some of these North Sea coasts as that northerly breeze continues. And that's going to be very evident on Sunday, bringing much more cloud across the country. Quite a grey day and a chilly day as well. But still on Sunday, many of us will be dry.
Join us for a special GB News event.
The celebration of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee.
From pageantry here at the Palace
to the parties in your street.
We'll bring you 4 days of
Unforgettable moments.
between the 2nd and the 5th of June.
Join us live up and down the country as we share your memories
Of Her Majesty's extraordinary reign.
Send us your stories, photographs and videos.
at Jubilee at gbnews.uk.
Come and celebrate with us.
On GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
On radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
we embrace all voices.
with honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
£400 energy bill discount for every household in the country to help with the cost of living.
Good morning. It's 7 o'clock on Friday, the 27th of May. This is Breakfast on GB News with Anne Diamond and Paul Hawkins.
We are live right across the UK on your TV, on your radio and online. Here are the stories you are waking up to this Friday morning.
Yes, a windfall tax, or they're calling it a levy, on oil and gas giants will fund an emergency cost of living package. The Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, says he's going to give every household, £400, and the poorest households over £1,000 towards their energy bills. Does this solve the cost of living crisis for you? Also this morning, Meghan Markle has placed flowers at the memorial to the 19 children and 2 adults who died in the deadly school shooting in Texas. Spokesperson for the Duchess said the visit was in a personal capacity. And hear this, fish and chips could take a battering as Russian sanctions could hamper the export of white fish. The CEO of Harry Ramsden's is going to be joining us a bit later on in the show. I must say we're both looking forward to that.
Yes. Plus... All 4 members of Abba have reunited in London for the first time since 1982 for the opening night of their Voyage live show. Yep, you can join in any of our discussions about what Rishi Sunak has done, or fish, or Abba, or whatever we're talking about this morning. Fish and Abba, random. Mix them all together. Exactly. You can drop us a line, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Actually, Paul actually did manage to mix together Abba and fish, didn't you? I have a bream. Oh. Can you hear that? Can you hear that in the gallery? They love that, don't they? Stony silence, I think, is what I hear. Actually, it's quite good. If you can do a pun on anything to do with fish and chips and Abba, well done. Yeah, I did. I was scrolling through Abba songs, trying to work in halibut and haddock and cod. Oh, I see. I could only get in bream and dream, but I'm sure you at home can do better. gbnews.uk. Lots of people getting in touch with us this morning. Michael says Fernando is my favourite Abba song. I'd forgotten about that one. Peter says Winner Takes It All. Good one. And Howard says it has to be Dancing Queen. Yes. Because of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. That was a brilliant song too. Yeah, if the Queen does even manage a slight jig or even a nod of the head, I can see them wheeling out Dancing Queen. They should definitely be playing it, shouldn't it? It's perfect timing. Yeah. So we're talking about that this year.
Yeah, we've also been talking about EasyJet, 200 flights cancelled just in the last 24 hours. More flights are probably going to be cancelled if you are due to go away on holiday because it's half-term coming up maybe, or just for a break for yourself, then do check because the airlines, as ever, it just seems that every week we're saying it, there is some disarray and you need to check that your flight hasn't been cancelled.
Yeah, and also lots of you talking about the cost of living this morning. Good morning to you, Mick, who says, I voted Tory all my life due to their fiscal responsibility and management of the economy. I didn't realise I was voting for a socialist, high-spending, high-tax party at the last election. This will change at the next election. And we're asking how comfortable you feel as a Conservative voter about Rishi Sunak, who has announced a £15 billion package, or £21 billion package, isn't he?
Yes, that's right. All in all, it's £21 billion, and you do wonder whether, actually, incrementally over the next few weeks, we're going to find out more. Keith says, paying money into people's bank accounts, though, is a big mistake, as many who don't want to work or make a life out of claiming will just spend the money on other things. It should be paid to the energy provider.
Wow. We'll put that to our guests.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, in just a moment. It is making a lot of the front pages this morning, this £21 billion package of support for households struggling with the cost of living crisis, part funded by a windfall tax on energy companies. Although he's not calling it a windfall tax, is he?
It's a profits levy.
It's a profits levy, everybody. These will include a £650 one-off payment for families on means-tested benefits and an extra £200 for all energy bill payers that will not have to be repaid.
We've got here with us now Angela Knight, who's former CEO of Energy UK. Hello there, Angela. Good morning.
Good morning.
Impressed? Was it the only thing Rishi Sunak could do, or is it not the answer?
Well, I think it's the answer for the time being, and he did rather more than was expected, because if you recall all the leaks and, you know, they all leak these things on purpose.
Well, even Labour politicians are sort of standing back and going,
Absolutely.
wow, that's more than we expected.
Yeah. They were going for about sort of 10, 12 billion, and this is much more than that. So it is a large amount of money, and I think that there was a real popular desire, though, for him to do something substantial, and he's done something substantial. But it is a for the time being step that he's taken. And I think on the back of that, they've really got to consider what is both the medium and long-term situation. And I use the word energy, but I will now separate it out for gas and for electricity. Now, let me tell you what I mean, because there's a bit of a Delphic phrase inside the statement. And what that Delphic phrase is it's about looking at how electricity is charged in the wholesale part of the market. It's a bit early in the morning for this, so bear with me. I hope you've had your coffee.
Yeah.
We have something called an electricity pool. So all the electricity generators, whether it's gas or whether it's wind or nuclear, whatever, they supply their electricity into a pool. It's a virtual pool, but into one place from the supervision perspective. And the pricing of that pool is set about every half hour by the last, and so the most expensive generator that's called by the in to supply power for the country. Because our power varies. You know, we all use more in the morning and less at night. So you've got this electricity pool. The last generator coming in the most expensive is at the moment gas. So what that means is the price of all electricity in that pool is pulled up by the price of gas. So the wind is still costing the same amount to generate, and actually most wind have got a floor anyway, so they're guaranteed a minimum. Price of nuclear power is pulled up, and so for some of those electricity generators, they too are benefiting from the pricing that they get for this extraordinary situation. Now, who cares about this? Who cares that the electricity price is high? Well, of course, we do as people, and that's why Rishi Sunak has put out the package he has. But think about industry. And industry are the biggest electricity users in the country. And so for them, all these price increases have gone up. They're huge employers.
And there's no price cap for them?
So getting to how we price this pool of electricity is very important.
He's hinted at that, though, hasn't he?
He has.
He has said that he may well be looking at them.
Yes, and he's got to do it quickly, in my view. I mean, I've been saying, look at the algorithm for some time, but you know, and correctly, the attention's all been, what is it that people have got to pay? And because we bundle gas and electricity together and call it energy, sometimes you do have to delve down and say, is there something we specifically should do for gas? And is there something we should specifically do for electricity? And for gas, well, quite clearly, we need to drill some more and get some more out of the North Sea for the time being.
Yeah.
And for electricity, we've got to sort out that pricing, which was set some time ago, that pricing mechanism, for the purposes of attracting more and more green energy into the system.
And who decides on the pricing mechanism? Is it legislation, or is there a quango? Or who decides that?
It used to be National Grid who operated, and now I think they call it the systems operator. So, so a piece of National Grid has been hived out separately, and that's the organisation that says we need that generator to start, we need electricity from over there. The actual pricing mechanism is some form of an algorithm, and no, I don't think it's in primary legislation.
Right.
So the department...
They can change it.
They need to get to it. It's like everything... complicated, and there will be some winners and losers. But self-evidently, we can no longer run a system where the way it was set up, which was for the purposes of attracting more and more investment in wind, is now distorting the price upwards, and thereby a far higher price than necessary is being charged.
That's really interesting.
Do you have confidence that they are looking at that?
Yes, it's in there.
Yes, it is. I was going to say, the fact that he has hinted at looking at it suggests, hopefully, that they are taking a long-term strategy too.
Well, they did put an energy strategy out, which was fairly high level, and that was several months ago. And, you know, there's some things that are very easy to pick on, saying, shall we do this, shall we do that? There's some things that are pretty complicated. This is pretty complicated, but it has to be done. And they've got a lot of good brains in there. And there's a lot of experts now in the academic world.
Yeah.
And to my mind, always the case with energy is park the emotion, chaps, boys and girls, you know, who are in there making the decision. Park the emotion. Don't be swayed by pressure groups, however much you might want to.
Or by politicians who want to be popular.
Well, this is the long-term, the short and long-term provision of electricity supply in this country is an engineering problem. So it needs to be for the engineers and the scientists. And that means some decisions are going to be difficult. But if you're not driven by the engineers and the scientists and sort of practical logic, we'll end up, you know, sort of tripping to the next crisis and the next crisis and the next crisis. And it's not one political party. Every political party has not got this right.
Yeah.
And I understand how, you know, these things aren't easy, but it's deep breath time. It's deep breath time.
Just very quickly, Angela, as the former CEO of Energy UK, what do you make of the Institute for Fiscal Studies saying that Rishi Sunak is going to come under a lot of pressure to keep coming back to the Commons to dish out more money? Do you see that happening? Are energy prices going to keep going up and up into next year?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, we have had these really big hikes, as you know, and they are on the back of a lot of very complicated things that have happened globally.
Yeah.
One of the things that happened globally, of course, was this big kickback in the economies. These have now stabilised. So the likelihood is that demand will ease. So if on the easing of global demand, coupled with some form of solution of Russia, Ukraine, then, you know, you start to take a deep breath. You level out. So it's... Who's to know what's ahead? But I would have thought that at the moment the odds are probably on stabilising as opposed to yet
early
more
next
increase.
year.
I would have thought that that's right, and that is something that you don't hang me on, of course. But
No.
As you say, deep breath time.
Deep breath time.
Yeah.
But what I would, this is not the time to do yet more jumps.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Institute of Fiscal Studies is entirely right. When you intervene once, you're expected to intervene a second, third time. We can't protect everybody from everything. But back to my earlier, more complicated thing, if you can sort out that electricity
the root problem,
pool, you know, well, it's only for electricity, then but that will help, yes.
Who knew there's a difference between electricity and gas-generated electricity?
Yeah, and we haven't heard that talked about a lot, that calculation, so thank you for that.
I've been trying to get it, you know, out there because now's the time to... you know, take a deep breath because the sort of the personal, financial, you know, domestic energy package has now been done. deep breath time. Let's get into sorting out some of the other things that can be done.
OK, because it matters, and we've been asking all morning, how is it affecting you? Well, we have a GB viewer joining us right now. Hello, and very good morning to you, Helen.
Hi, hello, Anne. Hello, Paul.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. Where are you at the moment? Where are you joining us
I'm in
from?
South Croydon.
Oh, lovely. Well, it's nice of you to join us. So, I mean,
not far, but very
what
welcome.
have you? I know that you've been very concerned. Obviously, has everybody about the cost of living crisis, and particularly the cost of energy. Are you persuaded by Rishi Sunak and his announcement yesterday?
Well, first of all, if I could just say, what a fascinating interview with Angela there. And the one thing I'd like to commend GB News for, ever since its inception, is you've had the most wonderful speakers on and guests who've given incredible insights that we're just not hearing elsewhere. I thought that was so sort of insightful and actually really very positive, you know, and it makes you realise that it's much more nuanced. I mean, I have a big bugbear with the way the mainstream media whip everything up. And I think, you know, the cost of living is clearly a crisis, and I think there are a lot of people who are struggling a great deal at the minute. My own personal circumstances with our family, we're very lucky. My husband's has us on a fixed tariff for a couple of years, so at the minute our bills aren't skyrocketing in the ways that some people are, and I'm sure that there are lots of people in our position who've managed to get on a fixed tariff before this started. But you know, I mean, I was disappointed yesterday with Rishi Sunak imposing the not windfall tax, if you like, because I'm you know, like a lot of people, I'm a small C conservative. I'm desperate for a conservative government. I believe in low taxation, and I believe in supporting business. And you know, as a business owner myself, what I see is it's all very well, but the knock-on effect of all these things is if we start, you know, either having to tax business or making a situation where business can't function properly because people don't have the disposable income. And obviously this money that Rishi has promised to individual families now will take some of the sort of sting maybe out of it. You know, as he said and as Angela said, you can't help everybody with everything all the time. But my big concerns actually are always that, you know, a bit like with the furlough. I mean, I looked at when furlough was going on, and again, I was one of these, the 3 million or so who fell through the cracks, and, you know, because I'm a sole director limited company, didn't get anything. But I do wonder about this constant putting money into people's pockets. That seems a very sort of socialist idea. And whilst I'm all for supporting people in need, I mean, we definitely need to support people in need and people who are on the lowest rungs of the ladder who are, you know, living hand to mouth. I find it I find it really alarming that we're getting into a state where there's almost now an expectation, and I wonder how much that Rishi has capitulated to this expectation, because the media kind of have been shrieking cost of living crisis, a bit in the same way as there was that sort of small panic about petrol, if you remember. There was no petrol shortage. There was a few tanker drivers short, and so that the supply chain was a bit interrupted in a couple of places. What happened? Absolute chaos for 2-3 weeks. Nobody could get any petrol. Queues everywhere, people panicking. You know, it was pandemonium. And we had it at the start of the pandemic too. I can remember standing in my local supermarket, chatting to one of the managers who was standing there with one of his members of staff in kind of sort of aghast, watching the sort of locust-like action of people stripping the shelves. And I said to him, God, it's really bad. And he said, it's not bad. He said, we are now putting out tomorrow's stock. It's just that we can't restock fast enough. We have no shortage of food. We've got deliveries coming every day, but people are panicking. And I don't want to belittle anyone who's, you know, because clearly bills are going up and petrol's you know, affects everybody. There are definitely, food prices are going up. So there's, you know, I'm not trying to say there is no cost of living crisis, but I do wish that we would stop making everybody so anxious all the time and then
get some
sort of
perspective.
whipping everyone up into
That's what you're saying,
this
Helen.
frenzy.
Get some perspective. That's
Sorry?
what you're saying. You're saying
Yeah,
get some
and then-
perspective. Yeah.
Well, get some perspective, and then I feel like all the opposition have done recently, and believe me, I would give anything for a decent opposition, because you don't want a government with no opposition. But all this opposition seems to have done ever since they've come in is kind of sort of snipe and bang on and sort of. I just feel there is no adult discussion. Yes, there's a cost of living crisis. Yes, people are really struggling, and some people are really, really struggling with fuel bills, and they need to be helped. But I do honestly feel like there's this kind of knee-jerk reaction. Oh, God, we're getting so much flack in the press and this and that and everything else. We have to just throw everything at it.
Helen, we're going to have to leave it there, but we really appreciate you giving us your time this morning and your views. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on GB News.
Lovely to
Thank
see
you
you.
for the kind comments as well.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I must say it was fascinating, wasn't it? Learning about how energy is created and then priced.
Yes, is it just things we haven't heard that part of the debate, have we?
No.
So that was very insightful. Thank you to Angela Knight, who's the former CEO of NG UK as well. Do let us know what you think about what either Helen or Angela had to say. GBviews at gbnews.uk. It's 7:19.
Yeah, let's bring you up to date with this morning's headlines then. Cleaners and security guards are going to protest outside Downing Street later amid anger over revelations in the Sue Gray report about the way staff were treated. In number 10, United Voices of the World, that's a union which represents domestic and security workers in government buildings, says they're protesting against the culture of disrespect.
The husband of one of the teachers who was killed in a mass shooting at a primary school in Texas has died of a heart attack. Joe Garcia was preparing for the funeral of his wife of 24 years, Irma, when he collapsed. The two leave behind 4 children.
And closing arguments are due in the £40 million defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. The Pirates of the Caribbean star is suing his former partner over a 2018 article she wrote in the Washington Post, which his lawyers say falsely implied that he physically and sexually abused her.
CPS has authorised 4 charges of sexual assault against Hollywood actor Kevin Spacey relating to 3 men. The former House of Cards star has not yet been formally charged as he isn't in the UK.
Now, here's an interesting one for you, particularly if you have diabetes or you're under threat of diabetes, because scientists have discovered that drinking a protein drink before a meal can help diabetics control their blood sugar levels.
New research has found whey drinks slow down how quickly food is digested and stimulate hormones to prevent sugar levels rising so quickly.
So let's find out more about this. Let's cross live and speak to one of the researchers of the report, Dr. Kieran Smith. Hello, Kieran.
Good morning.
Hello. Can you explain to us, that sort of, in terms of one syllable almost, the science behind this? Why does it work?
Why does it work? There are quite a few different kind of pathways why we found that when you have a protein drink before a meal that people's blood sugars don't go as high. As you mentioned, the rate of which food leaves the stomach into the small intestine, that's slowed down, so that's a major mechanism by which blood sugars don't go as high. A lot of key hormones, as you mentioned as well, are stimulated and increased, and in tandem these kind of pathways work together and make sure people's blood sugars don't go as high.
Diabetes 1 or 2 or both?
So type 2 diabetes.
Type 2, yeah.
So obviously type 1 and type 2 diabetes are 2 completely different metabolic conditions. So the research we've looked at is within people with type 2 diabetes.
And protein drinks like this, are these the ones that are readily available? You hear people who are building muscles and going to gyms drink.
Yeah, so traditionally whey protein is the kind of protein source that we used. Traditionally, you kind of think whey protein would be associated with the kind of the gym situation and the muscle building, but there's a lot of kind of bioactive goodies inside whey protein that we and a few other groups across the globe have shown to have quite beneficial metabolic effects, not only for diabetes but for older populations, for other populations as well.
Feel full, don't they? So, I mean, is the true secret the fact that you probably eat less?
No, So our study and other studies have shown that protein itself it makes you feel fuller compared to carbohydrates and fat. But when we've actually monitored food intake when they've had a whey protein drink compared to when they've not, overall food intake's the exact same. So the benefits in blood sugars that we found are not due directly to a reduction in food intake. So it's to do with these kind of mechanisms that I talked about earlier.
And does there need to be more research on this, or are you pushing that out as advice that our viewers can and listeners can follow now?
No, we need to do more research. The study that was published this morning, it was only over a 7-day period. Although the results that we found were really, really promising and novel and have not been shown before, we need to see how does this. Are there any kind of long-lasting effects? What happens over 3, 4 months, 6 months? And what kind of beneficial effects on blood sugar, how do they translate to the kind of cardiovascular issues that people with diabetes are at risk of? So they're the kind of key questions when treating diabetes, whether it's a pharmaceutical intervention or whether it's a dietary and lifestyle. Can we improve metabolic control, but also can we improve the kind of vascular complications that go kind of hand in hand with diabetes as well?
Just one more question then. I was asking you whether it would make you eat less. Contrary to that, would it actually mean that you might put on weight since you're having both a protein drink and a meal?
Yeah, very good question. Our research, we try and use the smallest dose possible to try and basically counteract any kind of adverse effects on weight management. We know people with type 2 diabetes, a large majority of them are carrying more weight than we prefer them to have, and they're storing fat around kind of key organs, which we wish wasn't there. So a big thing going forward, and that's what we will do in longer term kind of trials, is look at the smallest dose of whey or any other kind of dietary protein possible that obviously has the lowest amount of energy associated with it.
Oh, obviously, as you say, more research needs to be done. And presumably anyone watching at the moment who is quite interested in this should probably talk it over with their doctor first, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, OK. Thanks ever so much. Fascinating to know that research is ongoing because diabetes, particularly diabetes type 2, is becoming a huge problem in this country.
Yeah, it is. More and more people developing it. Yeah, my dad's been diagnosed with type 2. So, yeah, lots more people seem to be getting. Lots of you getting in touch with us on lots of things this morning.
Yeah, I mean, we've got lots of people who agree and disagree with everything Rishi Sunak has done. You can't help but think, I mean, a week ago we were saying, shouldn't he be doing something? Now he has done something, he's getting flack for that as well.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Should you maybe show some respect for Rishi Sunak for picking pragmatism over politics? Politically, he believes in small state, in reducing spending, in lower taxes, but pragmatically he's had to intervene to help people, especially...
He held back for a long time. You can feel the reluctance, but once he decided to do it, he's gone for it.
Yeah.
And gone for it big time.
Yeah.
Do continue to let us know what you think.
Yeah, GBViews at gbnews.uk. Stay with us. Lots more to come, including the latest update on the great EasyJet flight cancellation, and we'll be looking ahead to Liverpool's big night in the Champions League final tomorrow night against Real Madrid. All that to come.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Paul and Anne. Really good to have you with us this morning. We are live on TV and radio across the UK.
Get it right. and we're on YouTube all over the world. If you're watching us from anywhere in the world, do get in touch and let us know where and how much sunshine you're having. And, of course, there's the GB News app, which is incredibly useful as well because you can take us with you on your mobile phone wherever you go.
Isn't technology wonderful? Apart from if you were flying with EasyJet.
Yeah, still continues to be a problem because they cancelled 200 flights across the country after the budget airline was plagued, apparently by IT problems.
Yeah, those have now been resolved, but chaos still ensues as the airline tries to resume normal service. We can speak now to Sally Gethin, a travel expert. Morning to you, Sally.
Morning, Paul. Morning, Anne.
Hello. What on earth has gone wrong with EasyJet and how much continued chaos is there going to be?
Yeah, so, they suffered this IT glitch or IT outage yesterday. And, you know, that's a core part of their infrastructure. It's like the backbone of the airline operation. So it affected all aspects and 200 flights were cancelled. However, you know, it's a small part of their whole route network. They fly 1,600 flights a day. However, it is really hard for those passengers, some of whom only found out a few minutes before boarding yesterday. And it's a little bit unusual for EasyJet. I mean, British Airways is the one that tends to suffer these big outages, and EasyJet's got a slightly cleaner record. But, you know, the whole of the industry is still in a really bad way, the aviation sector particularly. And coming out of these lockdowns and restrictions, EasyJet suffered a lot of staff sickness as well a month ago. So, you know, if it's not one thing, then it's the other.
We've already had this from Robert, who's one of our GB viewers, saying we are booked on an EasyJet in 3 weeks' time from Belfast to Gatwick and then onwards to Jamaica. If we miss a connecting flight because of EasyJet cancellations, are they legally bound to get us to our destination?
Absolutely. They are absolutely legally bound to get you to your destination. No ifs, no buts, and it's enshrined in a law. So you definitely, in reality, the experience on the ground can be sometimes shambolic, but you need to stick to that, to be aware of that. And you can, for example, you should be offered an alternative flight to your destination if there's one available on another airline, for example, on the same day. And if the flight is delayed, for example, overnight, they have to put you up in a hotel and cover reasonable expenses as well. All the information is with the regulator on their website, the Civil Aviation Authority, that's caa.co.uk. And I mean, there's some good news coming down the line because this week the government announced that it would be strengthening the rights for consumers and passengers with a new passenger charter, which it's launching by the end of this year. So that should also give passengers a lot more awareness of their rights and a better pathway to navigate.
Yeah, and I'm told, Sally, just finally, that if you do need to apply for when it comes to compensation, you need to apply for it. It doesn't come automatically.
Well, it should. And I mean, It should in an ideal world, and to EasyJet's credit, they do have what's called a disruption help hub on their website, for example, and they should make themselves available. But what happens is there's usually a deluge of demand from customers that have been affected, and that tends to clog up, their resources responding. It shouldn't be that way, but it often is. So yes, it is really good to be aware of your rights, and you might, for example, have to book your own hotel, worst case scenario, but make sure you keep evidence of everything like receipts and so forth, and that you pursue it if you have to afterwards.
Yeah, good advice. Sally, thanks very much indeed. And let's hope Robert gets to Jamaica in 3 weeks' time without any problems.
Indeed. And I'm wondering, actually, if any flights have been cancelled that may be heading to Paris, where there's an important football match tomorrow night.
Another one. I was just saying to Paul a minute ago that there seems to be a final every week.
Yeah, you were saying, wasn't the final last week?
Well, there was a final last weekend.
Yeah.
Paul Coit is with us.
Paul Coit, sports broadcaster, is here.
Then. I mean, really?
Yeah, but it's one final after another after another.
Well, we get to it's because we're getting to the end of the season, you see. This is what's going on. We've had the playoffs.
In May, we're getting to the end of the season. You see, that seems ridiculous to me.
But the football season, as we start in August and we run through to May, and we're getting playoffs, and so we're getting finals. This is the time you should be really excited.
There's lots of competitions, aren't there?
Yeah. Really excited.
They just invent more and more, so there are more and more finals to go to.
This is a big one.
There's something in that.
There is. This is the most famous one. So this is the Champions League, the former the European Cup. So this is where the great giants of Europe will play each other. We've got Real Madrid, 13-time winners. We'll play Liverpool, who've won it 7 times. Last time they met was 2018 when Real Madrid won. So the finals in Paris. Everything seems to be around France at the moment. We've got the French Open tennis. We've got the Montecard. We've got the Monaco Grand Prix, if we can call that France. And then, of course, we've got the Champions League final then tomorrow night, which is huge.
And Liverpool are underdogs, would you say?
I'd say they were slightly overdogs. Is that a word?
Overdogs.
I think they shouldn't use it. I think Liverpool are the overdogs.
Favourites are overdogs. I love that. Yeah.
No, I think it's very even because Liverpool probably, I would say, are the best club team in the world. We're looking at Man City as well. But Real Madrid, what they've done this season has been incredible. They've come very close to losing and they're wily. It's just within the DNA of Real Madrid. They just manage to turn games around. They did it against PSG, against Paris Saint-Germain. So another French link there. And they also did it with Chelsea. Chelsea looked like they were going through late goals. And then they did it against Manchester City as well. Yeah. So Liverpool, if you're a Liverpool fan and you're 2 up and it's 20 minutes to go, it ain't over. Yeah. Because you know what Real Madrid are like. So it's going to be a heck of a game. So it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about Mo Salah as well, who was injured when they played the last final. He got injured and then didn't play most of the game.
That's right.
This time he's going to be there for the whole game.
He will be, hopefully. He's now signed a new contract, so he's going to be there for another year. There's Sadio Mane as well, who's also promised Liverpool fans, he has, I think, an exciting... What was the word he used? I think it was an exciting announcement, a special announcement.
I've got a special announcement.
I've got a special announcement for you, which I don't think means I'm leaving. If he's got a special announcement for Liverpool fans, I imagine he's going to be signing for another year. But
my special announcement is I'm leaving.
Yeah. Yes, I've got a very special announcement for Liverpool fans. It already paid. By the way, I'm wearing a Bayern Munich shirt as I reveal.
I'm joining Real Madrid.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Don't think that's going to go down too well. Yeah. But anyway, it's going to be. It should be a heck of a game. We hope for goals whenever we have great sides like that. Often very cagey, so it may only be one, but let's hope there's going to be goals in Speaks.
Very quickly, the French Open. Then it's all happening. Our guys got through furthest that we've ever got through in the French Open.
Yeah, well, Dan Evans is out. He went out yesterday, had a chest infection. I mean, he was booed yesterday, which is a bit much because the French fans said that he wasn't trying hard enough. Oh. So where he'd played 4 sets, he'd just got over illness. I mean, this is a point that I imagine he'd won. That's him looking a little bit worried about this one that's coming, but he got...
And that's going straight for him.
It's straight through his nose, actually. It just took his nose out, that one. And but he didn't win. Cameron Norrie did. So he's playing Karen Khachanov of Russia. So at least if he loses, he can say, well, we won't be playing at Wimbledon, will we? So it's the first time that he's actually got as far, if he wins, as far as the 4th round of the French Open, because he's had to play Rafa Nadal.
And what about Irina Camelia Begu?
Now, this is an interesting one because it was a fit of pique. I always enjoy a little bit of this, but it got a little dangerous. So she hit a ball and it went out. She got very upset, threw the tennis racket. The tennis racket bounced, went into the crowd, missed this young boy by about an inch or two. He got very upset and got a little scared by it, of course, burst into tears. Now, she's in the situation of like, what do I do now?
Yes.
So she ended up carrying on. She won the game in the end.
She didn't go over at the time, and
I don't know. Well, she went over, had photographs taken. Right. I don't know whether it's actually a good thing to actually go, I'd like you to have the tennis racket that nearly smashed you in the face, but everything was a little happier. But it's a dangerous game to play because if there had been any damage, she would have been disqualified. But more importantly, the boy would have been hurt. So he was crying his eyes out, and so it was all I'm really sorry about.
Anger management.
Take it easy, So maybe she'll think twice next time.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
Throws her racket with a fit of pique.
Indeed. What a racket. Very quickly, favourite ABBA song?
Favourite ABBA song? Oh, goodness me. Day Before You Came. It's very nice. I was a member of the ABBA fan club when I was very small.
Were you?
I was. Yeah.
That's a bit of a confession.
It's true. Yeah.
And why not now?
Sent away because I couldn't afford to keep the membership going. So it was only 1 year I was there, but I did a little.
Well.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is only between us, right?
Nobody will know.
No one's listening.
Thank you very much.
Don't say that.
Don't tell anybody, please.
Don't tell anyone, Paul Coy.
I prefer to be a member of the Metallica fan club.
Oh, yeah, much better.
More hard-nosed. What is the collective noun for Pauls?
I think
a plethora
of
Pauls.
Probably a gaggle, I imagine.
A gaggle?
Imagine a gaggle.
A gaggle of Pauls. Yeah. A shoal of Pauls.
A shoal of Pauls, yeah. Paul shoal, yeah.
A plethora.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, Paul.
There's never too many, though, is there?
No, probably not.
Indeed, yeah. Paul, really good to see you this morning.
You
Thank
too. Have a lovely week.
Paul Coit there, looking ahead to the Champions League final tomorrow night and telling us that he's was a fan of an ABBA fan club. Lots of you getting in touch this morning. We're talking about this new ABBA production, and so we're talking about ABBA.
Yeah, and Claire says, best ABBA song is Gimme, 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 A Man After Midnight.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a brilliant one.
Wendy simply says, head over heels.
Aussie Beth. Oh, hello, Aussie Beth. She often gets in touch. Lovely to see. Well, it won't be morning for you there, will it? But she says, my favourite song is Take a Chance on Me, if only because the chorus is so catchy and hard to get out of your head once it lodges there. Do you know, I think that's true of most ABBA songs.
Yeah.
What do they call it?
They call it an earworm.
Yeah.
Because it's
gets
stuck in your head.
And it won't get out. And the more you read out some of these very, very well-known songs, the more you think, were they samey?
Yeah. There's probably, I'm no musical expert, but there might be something to do with the way the music is put together.
Yeah.
Like the change in tone and notes. There's a pattern.
Sean in New Zealand says, my favourite ABBA song is Take a Chance on Me. Every time I go to Stockholm, I visit the ABBA Museum. I've also booked tickets for Voyage in London. I can't wait. You're coming right the way across the world.
Yeah, it seems that Take a Chance on Me may be an Antipodean thing. With Sean in New Zealand, he likes it, and Aussie Beth likes it as well.
Oh, here's a good one. Alan, good morning, Alan, says, for anyone who's experienced heartbreak, the song to make you reflect and shed a tear is The Winner Takes It All.
Yeah.
Oh, you're dead right there. I'll be seeing the show in September after a lifetime, I'm 72, in the music business. ABBA are the best.
Yeah, and just very finally, Gary in Warrington, in our house, when we hear ABBA singing Chickatita, we substitute it with Chippy Tea Time.
Chippy Tea Time, yeah.
Chippy Tea Time, which is very relevant because we're talking about fish and chips and ABBA.
And a lot of people, ABBA is very famous for misheard lyrics.
Yeah.
They were singing, I think maybe it's because they had a slight Swedish accent, they were singing lyrics that not everybody got right. Yeah. And there are lots of funny substitute lyrics for ABBA songs.
We've all done it. You're in the car, you're driving along, you're singing, but then you can't remember what the actual words are, or you don't quite hear it, so you just...
So you come up with your own, which is fair enough.
Yeah, look, we're loving all your emails this morning. Keep them coming in, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Stay with us, lots more to come, including we'll be out and about this morning in Colchester.
Hello, I'm Ellie Costello in Colchester today, which is the oldest recorded town in England, and it's now Britain's newest city. It's become a city for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. I'll be talking to local people about what they think about that this morning on GB News.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
with honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was, in fact, a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to GB News Breakfast. Really good to have you this morning. Paul here sitting in for Stephen with Anne.
Yes, and Paul. Sorry, you threw me there.
Sorry about that.
I was trying to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
Shall we take a look at today's front pages for you? And the Mirror first. About time, Rishi. That's what the Mirror says on the front page, saying the Chancellor is finally helping struggling families 5 months after the paper itself and Labour demanded it.
Daily Express has the headline, Rishi's 1,200 quid boost for 8 million, calling the Chancellor's energy bill a lifeline.
The Times says the Tories are split on the tax and spending bonanza. A number of ministers are believed to be reticent over the impact of the windfall tax on investment plans in the North Sea.
The Daily Mail has been cautious on the Chancellor's plan, asking when will Tories get back to just cutting taxes?
And in a bid to lighten the burden, The Independent says Rishi Sunak will offer a tax cut on drilling to incentivise continued investment by oil and gas companies.
Let's go through what is inside the papers. Joining us this morning, political commentator Benedict Spence and journalist Ella Whelan. Good morning to you. Welcome back.
And Ella, shall we look at the Texas shooting first in the Telegraph?
Yes, so obviously there is still a huge amount of coverage on this, and you earlier in the show had interviews and coverage of that individual who's now lost the husband who's lost his life as a result of his wife dying in this, and the knock-on effect and discussions about not just why it happened, but the way in which events rolled out over that day. And the Telegraph picks up on some of the criticism that's been levied at the police and the way in which, and law enforcement, and the way in which they handled the shooting. So at Robb Elementary in Texas, there was reports coming out that police officers were waiting for a significant amount of time to go in. And the Telegraph reports that people were, parents who were trying to argue that they should be allowed to storm the building because their children were inside and they obviously wanted to go in and save them, were being told to wait back. But at the same time, police officers were not going in for up to an hour. There was quite a large delay.
Yeah.
Obviously, they would argue that there is a reason, but it wasn't just that they were frightened or something like that. There was a reason behind it. But it does seem like a long time. And given that also the Telegraph goes into this detail of schoolgirl shots shouting for police help, that some officers were reportedly, and this is from a witness, a child who was hiding under a desk at the time, told the press that police officers were going in and saying, shout if you need help, while the shooter was still active, which is
doesn't
concerning.
sound right, does it?
Yes, because, and then obviously it was reported that one of his school friends was shot because she alerted herself to the shooter. And so all of this sort of, I think, raises a question about, which will inevitably come out after these things, about how it was handled. But there does seem to be some quite serious questions for law enforcement to answer as to how they handled it, why there was a delay. There's also been reports across social media with an interview with one of the sort of chiefs in law enforcement admitting the fact that some officers went in and rescued their own children, which is, and this is something that's been going around on social media from an interview with a law enforcement officer, so that it's from the horse's mouth, as it were, which again is, on a human level understanding, but at a procedural and professional level, not so.
Because in the end, it was the border police that stormed the building, didn't they?
Yes. And, the question is one live shooter, OK, with a huge amount of ammunition and guns and, in a particular kind of situation, but tied in with the fact that there is also reports out today that he wasn't stopped or he wasn't confronted going in, that there potentially wasn't enough security checks within the school. All of this begs the question as to whether or not this could have been not necessarily prevented, but whether so many children had to die.
And for the governors and some of the politicians and the NRA, of course, who say the answer to this is to arm teachers, there was an armed guard at this school.
Oh, that's always my favourite argument with the NRA is what we need is more good guys with guns. Like that actually stops people in the first place. America is an incredibly tooled up country. Lots of good guys have guns in the United States. It doesn't stop these things from happening. But it is, I think, pointless actually, though, to rehash the old arguments about what we need is gun control in the United States, because it's not going to happen. As much as we can sit here in the UK and go, that's what they need, and people in the US can say that's what we need, it's not going to happen. So actually, why even bother have that conversation? It's a symptom of a real, of an illness, I think, at the core of US society. But it's not just actually, these school shootings, which are isolated, they're outliers, demonstrations, I suppose, of the malaise in society. It's when you look more broadly at the rate of homicides in the US that are committed with guns, but actually that's not even the one that really concerns me, because those were pretty steady until about 7 years ago. They've doubled over the course of those 7 years, but they'd held steady at just over 10,000 homicides a year, tending to be localised around, criminal gangs and that sort of thing in certain communities. Actually, the thing that's really staggering is the number of suicides that are committed with handguns in the United States, which are absolutely vast. Then when you juxtapose that with the number of drug overdoses in the United States that lead to death, which topped 100,000 in 2020, for the first time, and that's going up as well. It's, these are always very, disturbed individuals, they're very, twisted, but they are, I think, a symptom of a much broader issue across American society, which is that there are a lot of very unhappy people, a lot of forgotten people who find themselves in very desperate situations. And when you have those sorts of people with access to the amount of drugs in the United States, with access to the amount of firearms in the United States, you're always going to get that. So rather than us all sitting here and saying what they need is gun control, knowing full well it's not going to happen, you need to look actually at what the root causes of the mental conditions, of how people get radicalised are. That's actually where I think you'll get the change, not in the sort of the moralising hand-wringing and saying we should get rid of an amendment that they're not going to actually deal with.
They're not going to change the Constitution, are they? No. Benedict, you wanted to talk about fish and chips.
Yeah, well, this is, we always enjoy talking about fish and chips in the UK, don't we? And occasionally people then start saying, it's not really British, it's Portuguese.
We've got the CEO of Harry Ramsden's coming in later on in the programme.
And he's bringing some fish and chips with him.
Yes, isn't it?
This is curious, of course, because this is another one of those knock-on effect stories about the war in Ukraine. Fish and chip shops are going to suffer, like we're all suffering, because there's a cost of living crisis at the moment. But that's because 45% of the world's whitefish is controlled by Russia. Not really a surprise.
Controlled?
They corner the market. They're caught in Russian territorial waters, and their fleets are the largest.
You were thinking literally controlled, weren't you? Like with little radio antennas.
It's like I was going to say. It's like the story about the military grade dolphins that supposedly the CIA were training back in the 80s, whenever it was. It's that sort of thing. No, it's they control access to the market, and of course that's what we tend to eat, things like haddock and cod. Well, a couple of months into the war now, we're talking about putting tariffs. You know, we did impose tariffs on them at the start, but now we're going to be increasing those. Along with, rather hilariously, the EU wants to put bans on Russian caviar, which still aren't in place. You would have thought that would be one of the first things.
I was going to say, during a cost of living crisis,
Brussels,
now you know it's serious.
Brussels has finally gone, do you know what, guys? We might need to hit the Russians where it hurts.
Yeah.
But it's not just that, though. It's not just the supply of fish. It's actually the things that we fry the fish in and the chips, sunflower oil. Ukraine controls most of the world's supply of sunflower oil, or a significant part, at least the stuff that comes into the UK. So, you know,
and wheat, which makes flour.
Well, exactly. So those are the things that we aren't sanctioning, but are very difficult to get out of Ukraine at the moment, combined with the Russian fish that we are now going to be putting tariffs and sanctions on. And it's going to be a pretty bad time, I think, for a lot of fish and chip shops.
Oh, yeah.
If you run
a fish and chip shop, might be a bit early for you, I guess, because you often work late hours, don't you? Although Friday is a busy day. So if you run a fish and chip shop, wherever, do get in touch with us and tell us if you are worried about this, seriously worried.
Yeah.
It's going to affect everything you do.
Yeah, as Anne says, we'll be speaking to the CEO of Harry Ramsden's, who's bringing in some fish and chips for breakfast. Later on in the programme. Benedict, Ella, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is 8 minutes to 8. Let's bring you up to date with what else is happening this morning.
Rishi Sunak has denied using a £21 billion support package to deflect revelations over those lockdown parties at Number 10. Do you remember those? The Chancellor says the cash boost was not unveiled quickly as a fig leaf, and the timing was purely down to greater certainty over what is going to happen to energy prices in the autumn.
Yeah, even though it was mentioned in the OBR's forecast in March. But let's not talk about that. Cleaners and security guards will protest outside Downing Street later amid anger over revelations in the Sue Gray report about the way staff were treated in Number 10. United Voices of the World, that's a union which represents domestic and security workers in government buildings, says they're protesting against the culture of disrespect.
The husband of one of the teachers who was killed in that mass shooting at a primary school in Texas, well, he has died of a heart attack. Joe Garcia was preparing for the funeral of his wife of 24 years, Irma, when he collapsed. The two leave behind 4 children.
The British Transport Police are the first force to arm volunteer officers with tasers in England and Wales. Amnesty International says the move is dangerous and warn it could lead to misuse, serious harm and death.
And at 7:54, it is now time for On Your Doorstep.
This morning, we're going to go to Essex, I believe.
Yes, we are. We're joining our South East of England reporter, Ellie Costello, who's live with us right now in Colchester, one of the UK's newest cities. Good morning, Ellie.
Yes, good morning to you both. We are live in Colchester this morning, which is one of the newest cities in Britain. It's become a city for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Now, during Roman times, this was actually the capital of England, so it is amazing. It's kind of come full circle, but I brought you somewhere very, very cool. We're going to be talking to people about what they think of this new city status. So we have come here. Would you like to introduce yourself? You're live on TV and radio.
Hi, I'm David Hanna, and I'm one of the co-owners of the Fisher Services Group.
Yes, and we'll have a little look around us. So what's this all about here?
So this is we build houses, so this is our training academy at our centre in Colchester. So this is where we bring in our new apprentices and new employees and that to teach them how to get into bricklaying.
Well, we can see some people here learning how to lay bricks. Looks very, very good. So there is this shortage of construction workers in this country, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Brexit, when it kicked in a couple of years ago, has kind of exacerbated that. With the shortage of labour resource, but obviously trying to attract young people into the construction industry has always been traditionally difficult. They tend to look for other sectors now in terms of social media, marketing, other sort of skill sets. So it's difficult to attract them in.
Definitely a challenge, but I mean, you make it so, you know, hands-on here and giving them the skills that they need to enter the workplace. Absolutely fantastic to see. And what is city status going to do for you? How's it going to change things?
That's a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, the growth to a city and the amount of sort of houses and population increases that will probably happen over the next 10 to 15 years will be great for all areas of our business. Obviously, in terms of house building, we'll see some really good growth. and hopefully that will bring some more people into the region that we can attract into the construction and bricklaying sector.
Oh, fingers crossed. Hopefully lots more people coming through your doors. Dave, thank you so much for speaking to us. I think it would be a bit rude of me to be here and not learn how to lay a brick. So we're gonna learn, aren't we? Here we go.
If you hold the brick in your left hand, are you right or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Right, okay.
But we're going to go left, are we? Okay, you're going to trust me? Okay.
If you try and grip it from the top rather than from underneath, otherwise you trap your fingers.
God, it's quite heavy, isn't
If
it?
you're going from that side.
Okay, and pop it in this hole.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, here we go, guys.
Try and get it down to the...
Is that good?
That's it. That's not bad.
Look at that. No, let's maybe pop it down a bit more.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be a building apprentice anytime soon, but there you go. Paul and Anna, I might be here building a wall for the rest of the morning, but stay with me because we are going to be talking to local people about the issues that matter to them and, of course, getting the reaction to Colchester town becoming a city.
Well done, Ellie. That looked very good.
Yeah.
A bit of work needed. Winston Churchill was a member of the Bricklayers Union because he.
How do you know that?
Oh, it's quite a famous fact about Winston Churchill. He was terribly, terribly proud of it. He learned properly how to build walls.
Love that.
And he was a member of the Bricklayers Union.
That's a great fact.
It is, isn't it?
Great Winston Churchill fact.
It's very conservative, really. Old-fashioned conservative, really, isn't it?
Yes. Lots of you getting in touch this morning. We will go through all your emails, or try and get through all of them. There's so many of them, talking about Abba and Fish and Rishi Sunak, not necessarily in that order. And EasyJet. All that to come with us here on Breakfast. Breakfast. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Great British breakfast.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
£400 energy bill discount for every household in the country to help with the cost of living.
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock on Friday, the 27th of May. This is Breakfast on GB News with Anne Diamond and Paul Hawkins.
We are live right across the UK on your TV, on your radio and online. Here are the stories you are waking up to this Friday morning.
Well, a £5 billion windfall tax on oil and gas giants is going to fund an emergency cost of living package. The Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, says he will give every household £400 and the poorest households over £1,000 towards their energy bills. Does this solve the cost of living crisis for you?
Elsewhere this morning, Meghan Markle has placed flowers at the memorial to the 19 children and 2 adults who died in the deadly school shooting in Texas. A spokesperson for the Duchess said the visit was in a personal capacity.
Fish and chips could take a battering as Russian sanctions could hamper the export of white fish. The CEO of Harry Ramsden's will be joining us later on in the show. Plus,
a little bit of Abba. All 4 members of Abba have reunited in London for the first time since 1982 for the opening night of their Voyage live show.
And we're on your doorstep this morning.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Ellie Costello in Colchester today, which is the oldest recorded town in England, and it's now Britain's newest city. It's become a city for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. I'll be talking to local people about what they think about that this morning on GB News.
We're talking about Rishi Sunak's help with the cost of living. Is he a real Conservative? Do you appreciate the help from the government? Also, we're talking about Abba and fish and EasyJet. Lots of conversations taking place this morning.
You can get them all into one view. That would be quite interesting, wouldn't it?
That would,
yeah, mix them all together.
By all means, yeah. GBviews at gbnews.uk.
Yeah. Good morning, Jeff and Fran. They say they are watching this morning from the beautiful city of Seville in Spain, spending a few days here celebrating our 45th wedding anniversary. I bet the weather's wonderful for you.
Yeah, really good to hear from you this morning. Talking about ABBA, because of this new production called Voyage, Sherry says, my favourite ABBA song is Thank You for the Music because it epitomises my life. I love music, listen to it all the time. And I know it's a bit morbid, but it is one of the songs I would like for my funeral eventually.
I think it is one of the most played songs at funerals.
Is it?
Yeah, there are certain ones. The obvious one is I Did It My Way, and apparently that is the most played song at funerals. But, yeah, I mean, some of those more uplifting songs as well are wonderful.
Yeah.
Funny point about misheard ABBA lyrics, says Peter in Dundee. We were saying that ABBA music seems to be one of the most misheard, and it may well be just because of the way they sang them as sort of slight Swedish accent, but a lot of people have got the words wrong. And she said, my favourite is Jackie Chan's On Me.
Aha.
Jackie Chan's On Me.
Jackie Chan's On Me, Jackie Chan. Yeah,
there
I
are
like
a lot
that.
like that. There's one that says, da, 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 when I called you last night from Tesco. And I don't know what the real lyrics are.
Well, it was
once I heard that was stuck in my
Yeah,
head.
Glasgow.
I called you last night from Glasgow.
From Glasgow, yeah. Which has a little bit like Tesco.
Yeah.
I prefer Tesco, to be honest.
Derek says, does your mother know? Yes, that's a good one. Actually, they were really catchy songs, weren't they?
Yeah.
No wonder they did so well.
Yeah, another earworm, Annie says, an earworm ABBA song, and one of my faves. Oh, it Does Your Mother Know Again from the intro you've already listened to, yeah.
Oh, Brett says, I do like a bit of ABBA, but I was brainwashed as a child because my mum had every ABBA LP and played them most days. I think my favourite was The Winner Takes It All.
Yeah.
A few ideas for fish and chip tracks would be Dancing Bream.
Very good.
The Vinegar Make a Pool. The Vinegar Make a Pool.
Yeah.
I Had a Bream, as you said.
Yes.
Take a Chip from Me.
Oh!
And Cotton Fries for Angel Eyes.
I love that, Brett.
Very good.
Brett, really appreciating the time you've taken to combine 2 of our stories this morning, which is effectively attacks on imported Russian fish, which is going to affect fish and chip stores. We'll be talking to the CEO of Harry Ramsden's later on in the programme. So, yeah, and by all means, if you want to take ABBA song lyrics and fishicise them.
Yes.
Fishes like I Have a Bream. Do get in touch with us, GBviews at GBnews.
Pesticise them.
UK. Pesticise them, that's it, yes.
But back to the cost of living and what Rishi Sunak announced yesterday, this £21 billion package of support for households who are struggling with the cost of living crisis, part funded by a £5 billion profits levy on energy companies.
Yeah, don't call it a tax.
No, call it a profits levy.
It's a profits levy. These will include a £650 one-off payment for families on means-tested benefits and £400 for all energy bill payers that will not have to be repaid.
Yes, let's join now the business and finance commentator, Michael Wilson, who hopefully will be able to explain. Hi there, Michael. First of all, can you explain why what the Chancellor announced yesterday is proving to be controversial, even within Conservative ranks?
Well, there are 2 bits to this. Let me just try and divide them. First of all, It's so eye-catchingly expensive. I mean, there's no question. £400, which doesn't have to be repaid to every household in the country. Doesn't matter what your income level is. Everybody is going to get that, and there'll be more for universal credit, more for people who aren't as rich as that. So it is extremely expensive. Now, question number one: will it actually bring inflation down? Well, technically, it may well do. So we may be not looking at that dreaded double-digit inflation in the near future. It may be closer to 9.5%. But the big thing that the U-turn here is the windfall tax. Now, if I may just put you right, Anne, it's not the energy companies. It's actually, first of all, the oil and gas producers, those people who actually go to places that we would not like to go to, particularly in the North Sea, and they're going to be charged 25% extra on their profits in BP, Shell, and other producers from the North Sea. Now, it may be, and that's just going to give about £5 billion. It may be that the electricity generators, i.e. the people who turn this fuel into energy and thus electricity, are going to be charged as well, because obviously with the high prices they've had a windfall of profit too, and that could release another £3 billion. Now that really is annoying a lot of the Tory backbenchers who say this is not a Conservative thing to do. Well, unfortunately, they're not right about that, because in 1971, when interest rates were so high you don't even want to know, Geoffrey Howe was a Conservative Chancellor, and he actually put a windfall tax on banks. So it has been done, as it were, from the Conservatives before. But that's the controversy. And I'll add to that this, from the Institute of Fiscal Studies. They're wondering whether or not, if this doesn't do the trick, they may have to do this again either in the autumn or next year, and then it starts to get eye-wateringly expensive.
Sorry, when you say do it again, though, Michael, are you talking about another windfall tax? Because where's he going to get the money for this? Another attempt to put a sticking plaster on the cost of living crisis, maybe later in the year. That's what the IFS is saying. So that they've actually said, this may help, it may not. I mean, the question also is, if you're getting a load more money in your back pocket, as it were, will you go and spend it? Will that add to inflation? And in addition to that, I know you don't want any more bad news, but we might as well do it all. The fact is that lots of workers, particularly in the United States, are looking at a very, very tight labour market, and they're feeling quite emboldened to go to their employers and say, I want to be paid more because I'm talented and you can't replace me. And I think that is probably going to be spreading to the UK fairly soon. Already, some UK employers are saying, we're going to pay our workers more because it's actually cheaper to pay them more than to recruit new people and train them and get them into their jobs. So you can see all these inflationary pressures, which we hadn't even thought about before Christmas, are now being brought to bear on what is, unfortunately, a very small economy. Michael, thank you for that insight.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Starting to understand it, I think. But let's see if it's getting through to everybody. We've got a GB viewer on standby right with us now. Alistair, I think, is joining us. Hello there, Alistair.
Yeah, good morning, Anne and Paul.
Good morning. Lovely thanks very much for joining us. It's lovely to talk to one of our viewers.
Pleasure.
Yeah. So what's your view on this? I mean, were you worried before, and are you relieved by what Rishi Sunak has now announced?
Any help's good help. What Mr Sunak and the Prime Minister have done is conservatism with compassion, which is the Conservative model I was brought up with by my parents.
He's come under a lot of clobber, though, I'm afraid, for actually handing out money. He handed out money to us during the pandemic, and here we go again. And a lot of people say that's not very Conservative. What he should be doing is lowering taxes instead.
There's always room for criticism of what people do. Without us having the books of the business of the country to see what's going in and out, we can't make a quantified decision, which they have been able to do. Labour had just ploughed in and showered money all over the place. Inflation had run away crazy. I lived under the horrendous inflation of the 70s where your mortgage was 15%. We don't want to go back to those days. You've got to do a structured input. A slow burn to recover the economy is better than just tipping a load of money in there and, inflation will roar away on that.
Yeah. But isn't that what Rishi Sunak has done, Alistair? I mean, he's taxed and he spends, and he's taxed and he spends, and he keeps spending. I mean, this was £21 billion yesterday. It was a huge amount of money that he's putting back into people's pockets, and he's a Conservative Chancellor.
Yes. However, like I said, it's conservatism with compassion, and there are other ways that they could do, but this is a sticking plaster to give a bit of breathing space to go. Things could take place, such as installation of solar panels on houses. There's an edict now where all new builds have got to have a charging point for electric vehicles. Well, why not put solar panels on the roofs of new builds as well? They're building solar panel farms all over the agricultural land. We need that land to grow food on to reduce the carbon footprint of the country.
How about you yourself? I mean, how worried have you been by this cost of living crisis? And have you been worried that you wouldn't be able to pay your energy bills?
I'm fortunate I was taught by my parents to plan for the future. Always expect the unexpected. I have now just become a pensioner. I won't get as much as what some pensioners will get from Mr. Sunak's package, but he's taken under his wing everybody and tried to help all, and that has to be respected.
How have you been coping with the increase in energy bills in your house?
I have a tweak of the thermostat. Unusually for me, but the sun is shining in the back room here, so it's pretty warm. I've got a shirt and a T-shirt on. Earlier on, though, I had quite a thick pullover on. The cheapest gas is the gas that you don't burn.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I certainly remember when I was a kid that you didn't walk around in your home in just a T-shirt and jeans. You always had a jumper on. Sometimes many jumpers as well. We seem to have got used to having a much more high ambient temperature in our homes, don't we?
Yeah. Everywhere's much cleaner, hygiene's better, and people see the glamorous lifestyle on films and TV and whatnot, and they want it. You can understand that, but we need to educate people. It needs to take place in the schools. We need to keep the planet safe and make it safer for the people of the future.
You're certainly not
It's
the first...
too easy to live for tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're certainly not the first GB viewer to get in touch and say, we were taught to think ahead and save and put jumpers on and maybe not be quite so, use the energy the way we've got used to doing. It's fascinating talking to you. Thanks ever so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And do stick with us for the rest of the day.
Yeah, good to have Alistair with us. He's a GB News viewer. Keep your views coming in, by the way. Views at gbnews.uk.
Brett says, I would be very surprised if any of the Chancellor's help will reach the people who need it. If he really wanted to help, he would have stopped this extortion from the energy companies. As a benefits claimer, I don't have a choice to get a job or do more hours due to disability. There is a cap on how much benefit claimants can claim for rent, which is £340 per month. Does anyone know of a rent this low? The answer is no.
Yeah, lots of you getting in touch with this morning. Tom says, I changed to a new 2-year fixed deal last July. It was an increase of 40%, but I didn't go cap in hand to the government to cover the increase. My wife and I are pensioners, so we simply budget accordingly.
There's something else to worry about now, but we won't join in on all of the enormous headlines that are sort of maybe getting it out of perspective. We'll try and keep a perspective on it. It's monkeypox. Now, 8 more cases have been identified in England, health officials have said, as the first cases of the virus were recorded in Wales and Northern Ireland. The UK Health Security Agency said the new cases bring the England total since May to 85 and the UK total cases to 90.
Let's find out how serious this is with Dr. Simon Clarke, a microbiologist from the University of Reading. Simon, good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. How worried are you about the increasing, very small but increasing number of monkeypox cases in the UK?
So I'm not very worried at all. I think it's something to be aware of. And if you perhaps know people who've got it, to take measures not to get it yourself. Perhaps if you work in an environment where you're concerned or you might be exposed to other people's skin, then you might want to take precautions. But I think really that's more for people's peace of mind than anything. The numbers are incredibly slow. They've grown. I'm not surprised they've grown. I think they will continue to do so, but at a relatively low level, a relatively low rate. So it's not something I'm particularly concerned about.
There is a vaccine for it anyway, isn't there? I mean, what is the treatment for it if you get it?
Well, there is a vaccine. It's the smallpox vaccine. But of course, people in this country, at least, and in fact most of the world, haven't had it for a very long time because smallpox is extinct. So why would you vaccinate people against it? But the monkeypox virus is a reasonably close relative. It's important to stress that the disease it causes is nothing as nearly as severe as smallpox. But the vaccine does offer some cross protection. So what will be done now is that the health authorities will use that vaccine to sort of put a ring of protection around outbreaks, around people that may have come into contact with people who are infected. And there are some treatments that would probably offer some protection as well, generated against smallpox.
Yeah, Anne alluded to this. How do you feel about the media coverage of this outbreak? Has the media got it right, or is it over-egging it?
I think it's over-egging it a bit. I mean, people are nervous about viral diseases and infections generally after what we've just been through. So I think it's understandable that people are interested. I'm obviously interested from a professional point of view, but I do think perhaps that some of the coverage doesn't play down the risk as much as it needs to.
No, I think anything with the word pox or even monkey and the two together just sort of sounds scary, doesn't it? And we don't want to overblow it, but it is interesting finding out about it. Just very briefly, the way you catch it is close contact, isn't it? So, I mean, you'd have to know somebody with it.
Oh, you'd have to know or come into contact with somebody. You know, rubbing skin, it can be transmitted via respiratory route, but not so much.
Yeah. Simon, really good to get your thoughts this morning and to get some balanced perspective on it. Appreciate that. Dr. Simon Clarke, microbiologist at the University of Reading, basically saying, just calm down.
Yes, I really do think so. I think it's just the word monkeypox, and maybe a lot of the press are just, over-anxious about anything to do with the virus, and it makes a good headline, doesn't it? It's important not to get scared.
Indeed. 8:19, an England fan who was subjected to a violent attack by Russian supporters at Euro 2016 is spearheading a campaign to raise awareness of brain injuries.
Yeah, Andrew Batch was beaten around the head with iron bars and is now unable to work, drive or lead a normal life. He says the effects of brain injuries are often unnoticed and misunderstood. Our South West of England reporter Jeff Moody went to meet him.
Andrew Bache can't remember going to France for the football. He can't remember the attack that nearly killed him. But he can remember doctors telling him he'd suffered a life-changing injury to his brain.
I've also been told that I've got to give myself more credit. Because I think it's always been the same with me. I don't give myself enough credit for things, and pat on the back time. I mean, I'm the one who gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and feeds the dog and makes sure the dog's out, and I'm the one who takes the dog for a walk. I look after my flat myself, and I just take it. I take that as normal.
Andrew says his positive attitude is thanks to Headway, an organisation that supports people with brain injuries and helps them adjust to their new life.
And so it enables you to realise that you're not as stupid as you thought you were. That's what it does to me.
It does it to thousands of others too. Around 350,000 people a year are admitted to hospital with brain injuries. That's 1 in every 90 seconds. The organisation offers practical help as well as drop-in sessions where people can feel supported, where they're understood. And that's the message that organisations like this are very keen to get across. Brain injuries are classified as a physical disability, but for many people, you can't see it. You don't know that it's there. That's why they call it the hidden disability.
An example could be that someone that has a brain injury is at a checkout at a supermarket and is maybe struggling with paying, and then people behind maybe will make some comments because they don't fully understand what's wrong. They find that upsetting. So what we're looking at doing is just making people more aware that don't judge or jump to conclusions, because there may be a genuine reason why people are behaving like that.
Compassion is key, says Andrew, and Headway supplies that in spades, rebuilding self-esteem when life has fallen apart. Jeff Moody, GB News.
Brilliant, brilliant too. Do stay with us. We've got plenty more to come. Coming up, it's 8:22.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Paul and Anne. We're live across the UK on both your TV and your radio. If you're wondering where Stephen is, he's still on his honeymoon, waiting to hear all his news, and look forward to some photographs next week.
Yeah, and we hope you're having a good time. This morning we're talking about, so much. Rishi Sunak helping with the cost of living crisis. We'll talk about an interesting angle on that in just a moment. But also, we've been talking about Abba this morning and fish. Fish because the government wants to slap a tax essentially on Russian-imported fish, which a lot of it goes into our own fish and chips. So we're talking to Harry Ramsden's CEO of Harry... we're not going to talk to Harry Ramsden, we're going to talk to the
CEO of Harry Ramsden.
Yeah, later on in the programme.
Who isn't a Harry Ramsden, I don't imagine.
No, it's not Harry Ramsden himself.
To ask him, who was Harry Ramsden?
Good question.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to him. So we're just talking about fish and Abba, and lots of you getting in touch with us about that this morning.
Yeah. And why Abba is still the amazing success it has been for so many years. I mean, when you think of it, they weren't just hits in their time during the 70s, early 80s, but then they went on to do a West End musical, Chess. That was Bjorn and Benny wrote that.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful music in that. And then, of course, all the movie hits, the Mamma Mia and Mamma Mia 2, and I'm sure there's a 3 or 4
Pierce
in the
Brosnan
office.
singing Mamma Mia. Thanks for that, Abba.
I know. Yeah.
But overwhelmingly, everyone is a fan of Abba that's been getting in touch with us this morning, apart from Bob in Sheffield, who says, I just don't understand all the hype about Abba. In my opinion, their music was bland and boring. Commercial garbage.
Well, it was very commercial, there's no doubt about that. But just because a song is good and commercial doesn't mean it's a bad song, does it?
Yeah.
Dave says most of their songs were hits and favourites of a lot of us. Super Trooper, keep that in mind, as well as all those you've covered. The writing, rhythm and melodies are all enjoyable and memorable.
Yeah.
And, of course, it was their look as well.
Yeah. You were humming one of their songs when you were in the break.
What was that?
You were going, I think it was...
That's the trouble. Those songs get into your brain and you can't get them out, and you don't always know all the lyrics.
Yeah.
And people get the lyrics wrong as well of ABBA songs.
Indeed.
Nevertheless, they're good. It was good entertainment. Brilliant.
Indeed.
Still continues to be.
We're enjoying it this morning here in Your Views, gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Now, on to a subject which you might think only affects women, the female of the species, as it were, but I think it probably affects all families, right through the family, men as well, boys as well, because it's something that we have to talk about more and understand better. Amid the cost of living crisis and more warnings of continued price increases, new data has revealed over a quarter of people in the UK say they or their family have struggled to afford period products in the last year.
Yeah, charities have reported a 78% increase in demand for free sanitary products during the first quarter of 2022 compared to the same period in 2020.
Well, we're joined now by Celia Poole, co-founder of Dame, and Liz Lowndes and Comfort Oluwakoya, I think I've said that right, 2 youth campaigners on the same subject against what they're calling period poverty. So if I can come to you first, Celia, what is Dame all about? And is there anything, I mean, is it a purely feminine issue, or does it affect everybody, as I said?
Thanks, Anne. So Dame is a sustainable period product company, and we launched only 3 years ago. And in answer to your question, it does. It affects the whole population. 100 billion period products are thrown away every year, and that is waste that is going into all of our environments. And I think the big thing which we try to do and tackle at Dame is not only period shame, so women feeling like they're being held back at school because of all these limitations around it, but period poverty and also all this plastic waste. So there's a big effect that's going on not just to women, but to whole humankind, because if girls are missing days of school, if women are missing weeks at work, that is affecting us all.
Come to the girls. I mean, Liz and Comfort. Comfort first. Do you come across friends, other young people who simply cannot afford the sanitary products they need to live a meaningful life?
It's such a sad reality, but I do. Even myself, I've struggled in the past, and I see it with my friends all the time. And it's such a weird problem because you think in a country and in the day we are today, people wouldn't still have to struggle with period products. But it is a reality that a lot of people are facing, including my friends and myself in the past.
Yeah. It is an expense, isn't it? It's an expense every single month that you can't do anything about.
Yeah, exactly. You have to do it, and I don't know, people turn to other ways, having to use tissue roll instead and other things because there's no way of avoiding it. It comes every single month of your adult life until, yeah.
Yeah. Liz, does this sound familiar?
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle that I think many teen girls are facing. But I think a positive that I am seeing a lot more now is that schools and colleges are providing free period products, which is extremely helpful during this period. However, outside of term time, I think tons of, girls are going to struggle. So I think the government are definitely going to introduce or should introduce some more schemes to help girls out, because having a period products, it's not a luxury, it is a necessity. So it's a sad reality seeing this affect women and girls today.
So Celia, is it actually reasonable to expect period products to be free? Because that's a long time over any woman's life. It's an enormous expense. Can we really expect the government or the industry to come up with something that would make it free?
I think being free totally is a very difficult thing. I think definitely we can push towards being free in schools and free to people who really need it. The issue sometimes around things being free is people don't actually value them, and therefore we create a lot more waste because people see these things as disposable. But one of the most economical things people can do is move to reusable products, something which we really advocate at Dame. Because by moving to reusable, you're not having to go back every month and purchase these things. So the more and more we can get people to be comfortable with their bodies and accepting of reusables, the easier this problem is going to get.
Interesting you say that, the more society accepts, they've got to be able to talk about it. And I gather, even according to the latest opinion polls, something like 48% of girls are still very embarrassed talking about it at all. What can we do about that?
We need to get into schools and make this actually part of the curriculum, make it sure that it's being taught to both boys and girls from a young age in an age-appropriate way, because the more we can make people comfortable with their bodies, it has a huge ripple effect in the rest of their lives. And periods are only just one part of it. So we really need to push towards opening up this conversation, making sure that it's not stigmatized and making people feel comfortable.
Yeah, Comfort and Liz, if I could just start with you, Comfort, those kind of conversations, what is it like in school?
Free period products at our school, but it's not in the bathrooms. We have to ask in the pantry or go to a certain teacher, as if it's shameful for it to be out in the open, and it has to be a secret thing if you really need it. And then that adds shame. You have to go and speak to someone about the fact that you can't afford period products, or the fact that you've forgotten and everyone knows you're now on your period. And oftentimes the person having this conversation with you is male. And there's a lot of this stigma that has to be broken, because it adds to the woman's life, and it's so detrimental, and that it's just so embarrassing feeling like you have to reveal what is seen as shameful to the whole world.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you have been to mixed schools, but what are the boys like? What is their attitude? Are they? I know my sons are quite happy to talk about this with their girlfriends, but they're a bit older. I mean, at school, is it still difficult for boys to be able to talk about this sensibly?
I think that that's quite an interesting question. I think that, unfortunately, there are still boys who have very immature attitudes towards periods. There are definitely more that are, accepting and, understand that if you're going through your period, that you may be a bit off that day. But unfortunately, you still get comments such as if you're, in a bad mood, oh, are you on your period? So there is still immaturity around that topic. So I definitely think that education around periods needs to be a lot more rigorous, and maybe even start earlier, because I was quite young when I started my period. I was around 11 and we hadn't started period topics in school yet. So I definitely think that's something we should target.
Yeah, it's as important for boys to get as educated on it and be comfortable talking about it as it is for girls. Listen, really good to talk to all of you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Well done for the campaigning too. In my day, you used to just get a leaflet flung in front of you, and that was that, as though it was something to be, you had to understand, you had to read up on, but you didn't dare talk about.
Yeah.
But you've got a daughter, you see. It just
I have a daughter.
important.
Yeah, she's 4. So, but that conversation will be coming down the track at some point.
Absolutely.
And
you, as a man, have got to be able to talk about it too.
Yeah, exactly. And also the boys at school. When she gets to that age, so it's really important that boys get as educated about it as girls do.
We've got to grow up about this, haven't we?
Indeed. 8:34. Stay with us. Lots more to come. We're going to be talking about fish and Abba and Rishi Sunak, and we'll also be on your doorstep in Colchester. All that to come.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. Shall we take a look at today's front pages for you? And first of all, the Mirror says about time, Rishi. They say the Chancellor is finally helping struggling families 5 months after they and Labour demanded it.
The Daily Express has the headline Rishi's £1,200 boost for 8 million, calling the Chancellor's energy bill a lifeline.
The Times says the Tories are split on the tax and spending bonanza. A number of ministers are believed to be reticent over the impact of the windfall tax on investment plans in the North Sea.
Yeah, the Mail feeling squeamish about how he's raised the money, asking when will Tories get back to just cutting taxes?
And in a bid to lighten the burden, the Independent says Rishi Sunak will offer a tax cut on drilling to incentivise continued investment by oil and gas companies.
Let's go through what is inside the papers then with Ella Whelan, a journalist, and Benedict Spence, a political commentator. Thanks for coming back in, guys.
Benedict, are we starting with the Ukraine invasion?
Yes.
What's happening thus far?
Ever upbeat. I mean, for weeks now, actually, we've been hearing relatively upbeat reports coming from Ukraine. Some people saying that Russia are doing very badly and that in some cases Ukraine are even winning. And from my perspective, that's always seemed a little too upbeat, and actually now you can sense that there is a change in tone from that, and that's the Times headline is "Fighting reaches new intensity in eastern Donbass," and that is Western speak for saying Ukraine is losing in eastern Donbass. That's, it's a very polite way of saying that they are finding things very difficult because the Russians, we were told, were being pushed back from places like Kharkiv. They were tactical retreats. They've refocused their efforts on the Siversky Donets River, and they are doing quite well. And this is ultimately where we see, for all Ukraine's military is it has performed very admirably, very impressively. It's been quite well armed, especially with the help of its Western allies. Russia still, for all it's very poorly equipped and poorly planned, has the majority in terms of numbers. It still does have an awful lot of firepower around which its military is based, and it is pushing forward. It is making progress in that part of the world. And when you step back and you take a look at the map, actually, of what Ukraine looked like before and after the invasion, you would struggle actually to say that it's going particularly well for Russia, but also it's not going especially well for Ukraine. No. Ukraine was...
And the eastern Donbass is an area where Russia would like... If they
yes.
can't win anything else, they would like to
Well,
win
this
that.
is the thing. If they can't win anything else, but they have won a lot of other things. They do have Mariupol. Lots of people saying it's been leveled, but they still control it. They have Kherson. They're not going to lose Sevastopol or Crimea anytime soon. If they manage to secure Donetsk and Luhansk, it's not very far to push back to Kharkiv. It's not very far to push onto Dnipro. And all of a sudden, then, you're sitting in a position where you've got most of eastern Ukraine actually under the thumb of Russia. And if they were able to continue their blockade of Odessa as well on the Black Sea, that turns Ukraine into a landlocked country. Ultimately, it can't then survive as any sort of independent nation if it can't export any of its goods, if it can't get reinforcements from, if it can't break through the Russian blockade. And all of a sudden, from being incredibly upbeat, we do have to face the facts, and that is that Ukraine is not going to emerge from this campaign in anything like the state it was before, even if we're able to sort of pass it off as a victory.
Yeah, whenever that campaign finishes. Ella, BBC Cuts.
Yes, so we know that there has been an ongoing row about the licence fee, and Nadine Dorries, the Culture Secretary, made the announcement that there was going to be a freeze on the licence fee for 2 years for £159, which has left the BBC needing to find a significant amount of money, or with at least £285 million that it has to save. And one of the ways in which it's suggesting it will do that is to cut BBC4, to make it no longer available on television, but available online, including CBBC and Radio 4 Extra. Now, there are lots of pieces across all of the papers extolling the virtues of particularly BBC4, which is one of those channels that had something a little bit different. It had a lot of original shows, particularly stuff about documentaries, art history and things like that. And obviously CBBC is something that I was raised on and lots of parents find very useful. But there is a question for the BBC more broadly, which is, along with things like BBC Sounds that it's been working on very closely with its radio content, about how to match the modern world and how to meet the challenge of the fact that, as you know here at GB News, lots of viewers and listeners find their channels and enjoy their news in lots of different formats. And so you can't any longer be Luddite about this, and that online is not necessarily meaning gone forever, and that actually there are opportunities.
No, in fact, you look at the BBC iPlayer, which has to be one of the great success stories from the BBC, and putting CBBC and BBC4 online only on the iPlayer, I would have thought that's fine, because most parenting now is done with tablets, isn't it?
Yes, but the Guardian points out that there is a significant question to answer, which is that particularly with a channel like BBC4, it had BBC4 actually outstrips BBC3, which is much of a younger channel. It has those kind of young comedies. But BBC4 being the kind of channel that had older viewers, turning that online might pose some kind of there might be a drop-off, because it's not very likely that people who are in their 80s and 90s are going to want to be fiddling around with the iPlayer when they've spent all their years turning on the television. But then again, I think we patronise old people too often.
So do I.
Lots of people are able to do it just as well, learn how to use an app, learn how to use iPlayer online. So the bigger question is the future of the BBC and whether it can meet the kind of challenges that not just Nadine Dorries is putting against it, but also viewing numbers are.
Yeah. What do you make of it, Benedict?
I mean, I don't know. I think the BBC churns out an awful lot of dross when it comes to entertainment, but BBC4 I often found, perhaps this is just, my personal taste, but I actually found it was the best in terms of public service broadcasting. Actually, I think it performed a very good service, providing us a slightly more sort of high-end, factually sort of interesting channel. So I do, it worries me to see actually that the attitude is that this is something that can just be shunted off and doesn't necessarily have to be at the forefront, whereas things like BBC Three are being brought back online. Often whenever I go on the BBC, I find actually everything is I understand it has to cater for everybody, but I often find it doesn't really cater for people like me who would like something that isn't pop culture, ultimately.
Go to the iPlayer, it's brilliant. What about vintage IKEA furniture?
Well, I mean, we've been doing a lot of Swedish
Swedish retro music.
Yeah, so it's not just Abba. Cost of living crisis beginning to bite. If you're thinking you might need to raise some money, well, a £20 chair from 1959 at IKEA. It's called the Cavelli.
I didn't know IKEA was going in 1959.
Only in Sweden, I assume.
I see.
I mean, maybe you could import stuff here. I don't know. Maybe get a mail order catalogue or something. It was a little less easy to sort of buy things back in the day. But it recently sold for £15,500. Something you pay £20 for in 1959, even if you take inflation into account.
A really
That's pretty
appalling-looking chair.
Yeah, it's absolutely dreadful.
Screams 1959 at you.
It does. I'd be happy to sell it.
A bit of a design icon, really.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of stuff
Apparently there is a market now in vintage IKEA furniture.
Then we've got the chair here. There's a picture of the chair itself.
Yeah, it's yellow, looks like horrible woolly fabric, and it's just a weird shape.
I'm impressed.
As I said, it screams 1959 at you, but
if you're sitting on one of them now, you're sitting on a fortune.
Yeah.
I don't think anything they make now would last 60 years. So I think this must be a pretty good bit of kit. Well, I don't know. I've gone through a lot of those sort of Billy shelves. They just fall apart after.
Can we just go back to that picture? Can we just bring those pictures back of that Swedish furniture, actually? Because here it comes. Because the one on the far right, is that a chair?
Yes, it just looks like a wire frame.
If you're sitting on that watching us this morning, then
you need a cushion.
I think
But
so.
that cost £23 when it was bought, and it's now worth at least £875.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you go to an online auction site, you'd probably find some of these little gems if you really want them in your living room.
Yeah, see, there is value in old Swedish things this morning. Doesn't matter if
Yeah,
you're a musician or a
very
piece
true.
of furniture.
Very true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Thank you so
guys,
much.
thank you.
Is that our last gig with you? Yes, are you off now?
I think so.
You're off, yeah.
I can stay if you want.
Well, we might find it useful. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Shall we bring you up to date with what else is happening in the news? Well, Rishi Sunak has denied using that £21 billion support package to deflect revelations over lockdown parties at number 10. The Chancellor says the cash boost was not unveiled quickly as a fig leaf, and the timing was purely down to greater certainty over what is actually going to happen to energy prices in the autumn.
The husband of one of the teachers who was killed in a mass shooting at a primary school in Texas has died of a heart attack. Joe Garcia was preparing for the funeral of his wife of 24 years, Irma, when he collapsed. The two leave behind 4 children.
The healthcare regulator has ordered Nottingham University's Hospitals NHS Trust to make significant and immediate improvements to the maternity services after a number of baby deaths. Following unannounced inspections at the Trust in March, the Care Quality Commission is warning women and babies may not be safe.
Closing arguments are due in the £40 million defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. The Pirates of the Caribbean star is suing his former partner over a 2018 article she wrote in the Washington Post, which his lawyers say falsely implied he physically and sexually abused her.
A remote Scottish island is looking for a head teacher to run its 4-pupil school. Fowler, which is one of the most isolated places in Britain, has a population of just 28 and 1 classroom. But the salary is £61,000.
Say, Fowler
Some
looks
people,
beautiful.
that would be the perfect job, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, living in a beautiful place like that. Fowler, I'd never heard of
Only
it.
4 children, to have to teach. They're probably different
£61,000.
ages, but, you can manage 4, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Very interesting. Right, 8:47. The Queen has had a close relationship with the British Armed Forces over the course of her 70-year reign. Today, a new exhibition opens which documents a series of rare photographs of Her Majesty at the Imperial War Museum in London.
Yeah, so it's ahead of the Platinum Jubilee. Our royal reporter Cameron Walker got a sneak peek.
This is the Gaumont British News, presenting the truth to the free peoples of the world.
By early 1945, the Second World War was nearly over, and Britain was close to victory. An 18-year-old Princess Elizabeth became the first female member of the royal family to enlist in the armed forces full-time. In the year of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, pictures of Her Majesty form part of a new exhibition at the Imperial War Museum. The curator, Kate Clements, thinks visitors will get a unique insight.
We haven't done anything like this before, and so it's really exciting for us to be able to draw together a range of photographs, also film elsewhere, and we've got some objects on display too that visitors can interact with and learn more about the links between royalty and wartime.
Handling an army ambulance isn't always as simple as it looks, but the Princess has won her commanding officer's praise as an excellent and considerate driver.
In Britain, women took on key roles so men could fight on the front line. Princess Elizabeth joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service and qualified as a driver and mechanic. It gave the future Queen the chance to interact with ordinary young women of her age, a rare chance for her to live a relatively normal life. But it also perhaps cemented her call of duty, as Kate points out.
The wartime years were pretty important to her. She learnt a lot about the importance of duty. She saw her parents were very present. They didn't hide away. They were visible for the population in this time of national crisis. And I think she learnt from that. And she also felt a sense of wanting to also do her part.
Throughout her 70-year reign, the Queen has lived through times of conflict. Her Majesty is head of the armed forces. They swear allegiance to her. Perhaps the photographs featured in the Crown and Conflict exhibition show how her role has been shaped by her wartime experiences. But wartime leads to peacetime, and Her Majesty's armed forces can show off their ceremonial duties too. Next week, the Royal Air Force, Royal Navy and British Army will take part in the Queen's birthday parade and flypast. A royal salute to Queen Elizabeth's lifetime of service. Cameron Walker, GB News, London.
Oh, do you know, it'll be lovely to see her out on the balcony.
It really will.
I know there's a lot of pressure on her to... Do you know, they really annoyed me last week. A lot of commentators were saying, how come she can go to the Royal Windsor Horse Show and blah, blah, but she didn't do the state opening of Parliament? The easy answer is that when you have mobility problems and you're 96, you have good days and bad days.
I don't quite understand why you can't put yourself in the shoes of a 90... Someday, you can't make it to everything. Oh, why did you go to that? She comes in.
Yeah.
She's just going to go to what... And
she
frankly...
probably thought, all those steps and sitting on that throne and reading the speech.
And the crown or whatever.
And she probably thought, my back's hurting today. But, you know, the horse show does get her going. And that was a good day. I just can't understand why everybody was trying to see some sort of, you know, rationale behind it.
She's earned the right at that age and after that length of time on the throne to pick and choose where she goes.
And you have good days and bad days. You have days when you wake up aching all over and days when you probably think you can go out.
Indeed. We're also loving the voice at the start of Cameron's report, weren't we?
Yes. We were thinking maybe during Platinum Jubilee week we should all speak like that.
Yes, exactly. Should we do
this? This is very important.
Exactly. At 8:51 on GB News Breakfast, it's time for this.
It's a bit frightening though, really, isn't it?
A little bit, especially when I'm doing it. Sorry about that, everybody. Should we go to Essex next?
Yes, let's go to Essex, where our South East of England reporter Ellie Costello is live in Colchester. Hello there, Ellie. I must say, I'm a bit disappointed for you. I thought the weather was going to get better and better, but it looks a bit windy.
I know. It started so sunny, didn't it? Now it's gone all cloudy, but hopefully I'm bringing the sunshine for you. Yes, we're in Colchester in Essex for you this morning. This is the UK's newest city, one of 8 towns which have become a city to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So we're here to talk to people about what they think about their town getting city status. Now, this business has caught my eye this morning, and you'll see why in just a second. And have a little knock and see who's behind. Good morning.
Good morning.
You are live on TV and radio. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I am Martin and welcome to Gosbeck's Barbers.
Thank you very much. We'll pop inside. Thank you very much. Now, this is what's caught my eye from the outside. Look at this incredible wall here. Martin, talk me through the vision.
So the vision was, obviously, it was a blank canvas when we bought the shop. So we thought we'd just jazz it up a bit with all the stuff that I like and what customers like. So we've got sporting icons, film icons and famous actors, etc. So yeah, it looks good.
And this guy, have I got this right? He went to school with you?
Yeah, Keith Flint, He went to my old school, Boswell's, from Chelmsford.
There you go. It's a small world, isn't it?
Very small.
So tell me a little bit about the business, because you've got a great spot here. Yeah. How is business? Doing well?
Business is really, really well. The shop's been open just about 3.5 years, but I bought it 2.5 years ago, literally just as COVID struck. So it's literally 6 weeks, and then COVID hit. So, but fortunately, we've got through that. Business is booming, all thanks to my massively, massively loyal customers. So I'm really thankful.
Oh, fantastic. And it's an amazing barbershop as well. I mean, Thanks. You're being very humble, but it's a great, great spot. And this has caught my eye behind your head here. You've got Union Jacks everywhere. Look at these cushions as well. Union Jacks everywhere in this place. So how are you feeling about the Platinum Jubilee, but especially Colchester becoming a city? What's that going to mean to you?
It's great news for Colchester. Hopefully it's going to promote more businesses. People want to move here, more houses. More houses means more people, which means more haircuts.
Fabulous news for you. And have you got plans for the Jubilee weekend?
No, not really. We're going to close down, put my scissors down and just have a bit of time out with the missus and just relax.
Bit of relaxing, lovely. You so deserve it. You are really, really busy here. We have got one fun fact to leave you with from Martin here, because you're going to enjoy this one.
So the fun fact is, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star was actually written in Colchester.
There you go. What a way to end on your doorstep on a Friday. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star was actually written in Colchester. It deserves city status that alone, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's a classic. It really is.
That's why I moved here.
That's why you moved here. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Ellie. Yeah, that's great. Good.
Yeah, thank you very much. And you saw the Union Jacks in the barbers there. Lots coming up here over Jubilee weekend here on GB News. We're going to be all over it. And we're asking for your memories of meeting the Queen, aren't we?
Yes, or any memorabilia you've got. I was looking through, me and my sisters were looking through our mum's treasures the other day, and I found a beautiful pop-up book of the Queen's coronation.
Oh.
And it's one of those really old-fashioned ones. You lift it up and every time, you know, lovely pop-up 3D things. I'll bring it in and show everybody. But she obviously kept quite a few bits and pieces to do with the coronation. She always used to tell us wonderful stories of the coronation, because my father was a radar engineer and he built a cathode ray tube, which was about an inch and a half long by an inch. And they watched the coronation on this cathode ray tube. So the picture was only about a square inch. But Mum said you could see it perfectly, and all the neighbours came round and watched. They must have crowded around this tiny
little thing, looking at it like that. Yeah,
to see it. But the coronation, people who still remember the coronation say it was an absolutely wonderful time.
Yeah.
And there's clearly a lot of memorabilia from it. So if you've got pictures of anything like that, do let us know. What's the address? Jubilee at gbnews.uk, and we'll gather it all together for Coronation Week.
Yeah, please do get in.
Platinum Jubilee weekend.
Indeed. So do get in touch with us on that. And also coming up in just a moment, we've got more on Rishi's rescue deal and fish.
And chips.
Good morning, Alex Deacon here with your latest weather update. Bit of a chilly one out there this morning, but for most of us it's going to be a fine Friday with dry, bright weather, plenty of sunshine and lighter winds compared to yesterday. High pressure is slowly moving in and breaking up this weather front, bringing, as I say, for most of us a fine day. But notice the isobars fairly close together there across Scotland, so still quite windy here with a fair few showers coming in, mostly north of the central belt. But showers on the heavy side in places this morning before easing off this afternoon. From the central belt southwards, the vast majority staying dry. Certainly plenty of sunshine across the Midlands, Wales, southern and eastern England, and lighter winds compared to yesterday. And although it's a bit fresh out there right now, temperatures ticking up by this afternoon, feeling pretty pleasant, 21, maybe 22 Celsius. Cooler further north and certainly still pretty fresh for the time of year in northern Scotland, with a few showers and a stiff wind. The showers will continue to fade through this evening. Most of us are going to be dry. Temperatures will drop quite sharply this evening, though, so bear that in mind if you have outdoor plans. It's going to be another chilly one tonight and a pretty cold start to Saturday for the time of year, well down into single figures. Certainly in rural areas, we could be as low as 2 or 3 degrees. So, yes, chilly for Saturday morning, but again, it's going to be a blue sky morning, lots of sunshine around. Again, the main exception will be northeast Scotland, where it'll still be breezy with maybe a few showers. Cloud is expected to develop through the day tomorrow, particularly over eastern England. There's a small chance of a shower or two here, but for most it's going to stay dry. Again, temperature's not spectacular, but feeling okay in the sunshine. A cooler feel on some of these North Sea coasts as that northerly breeze continues. And that's going to be very evident on Sunday, bringing much more cloud across the country. Quite a grey day and a chilly day as well. But still on Sunday, many of us will be dry.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
A £400 energy bill discount for every household in the country to help with the cost of living.
Good morning. It's 9 o'clock on Friday, the 27th of May. This is Breakfast on GB News with Anne Diamond and Paul Hawkins.
Yeah, we're live across the UK, on your TV, on your radio and online. Here are the stories you are waking up to this Friday morning.
Well, a £5 billion windfall tax on oil and gas giants will fund an emergency cost of living package. The Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, says he'll give every household £400 and the poorest households over £1,000 towards their energy bills. But does this solve the cost of living crisis for you?
Also this morning, Meghan Markle has placed flowers at the memorial to the 19 children and 2 adults who died in the deadly school shooting in Texas. A spokesperson for the Duchess said the visit was in a personal capacity.
Fish and chips could take a battering as Russian sanctions could hamper the export of white fish. The CEO of Harry Ramsden will be joining us a bit later on. Plus... They're still singing.
They are, aren't they? All 4 members of Abba have reunited in London for the first time since 1982 for the opening night of their Voyage live show.
And you can join in any of our discussions by emailing us gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us and taking a chance on us.
Oh, well done. You've been working at that, haven't you, for the last 3 hours?
Just came to me just then.
Alistair says, music for the energy suppliers, money, money, money. Andrew says, I've got all their tracks on vinyl, and I think that's how Abba should be listened to because they are a 70s group.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about misheard Abba lyrics.
Yeah, I like this one.
John in Burton-on-Trent says, it reminds me of the song Chiquitita, Tell Me the Truth. We used to sing Take Your Teeth Out and Tell Me the Truth.
Ah, Take Your Teeth Out. And someone else was saying, was it Chippy Tea? Chippy tea time. It was chippy tea time or something.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Or chicken tikka.
Chicken tikka. That was
chicken
it.
tikka's the other one. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. If you've got any, if you when you were younger probably misheard Abba lyrics, tell us how silly they were.
Indeed. You didn't mishear Rishi Sunak yesterday. He announced a £21 billion package of support for households struggling with the cost of living crisis, part funded by a £5 billion profit levy, don't call it a tax, on the oil and gas companies.
Yeah, so that's going to include a £650 one-off payment for families on means-tested benefits and £400 for all energy bill payers that will not have to be repaid. In fact, they do say if you've got 2 houses and you have to pay 2 lots of energy bills, you will get 2 lots of £400.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Finance coach Bola Sol is in the studio with us. Bola, very good morning to you. Thank you for speaking to us.
Good morning.
First of all, what do you make of what the Chancellor had to dish out?
I definitely think it's a good start, but it's not enough in the long run because prices are going up from about £830 to about £2,800. So it's going to be great for the start of this October, but if you think about October next year, what do people do then? They can't just magic up money.
No, and if you're faced with a bill of something like £2,800 for your energy, the very maximum you would get off Rishi Sunak, according to yesterday's announcement, is what? About 1,000.
Yes, correct.
Which, I mean, while it helps enormously, it may not be enough for a lot of people.
No, it might not. It depends. You have to look at, for example, people who need to be at home a lot more often, whether it's work from home, whether somebody has a disability and has to be inside more, so it's costing them more. Where exactly are they supposed to get that help? Of course, like I said, this is a good start, but what happens next year, for example, because Rishi has made it very clear that this is a one-off deal.
Yeah, well, the Institute for Fiscal Study says he's going to come under pressure to keep coming back to the Commons to dish out more money.
Absolutely.
Do you think that is going to happen?
Potentially. I know that what's important, especially with the government, we have to be careful of how much money they pump into the economy, and we have to read things over time. So, for example, China's coming out of lockdown. We have to look at what that does to demand, for example, and hopefully what it looks like, hopefully after the Russian war. All of these things depend, but it would be good if Rishi did continue to support us during this time.
What do you think he should do, though? I mean, he's almost damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, because for the last few weeks, people have been calling out for him to do something, do something. Now he's getting an awful lot of flack from his own party for just dishing out money. So what should he do?
I think he's done the right thing to start with, which is to help. Obviously, people are saying that it's not enough, but I'm saying at the moment it's a good start. We have to continue to monitor things as they go on. And yeah, it's a shame that he's getting flack from his own party, but as you said, damned if you did, damned if you don't.
Yeah, you're a finance coach, right?
Yeah.
So how are you finding coaching people at the moment, given the options are quite limited?
Yeah, I think the honest truth is that people cannot magic money out of nowhere. I fear that many people are going to go into unnecessary debt as a result of just trying to keep up with normal day-to-day bills. So the only option right now is to tell people to make more money. You know, I usually give savings tips, but in all honesty, how many savings tips can we give at this moment? I say you're going to have to find a way to make more money because this government can only help us so much.
Wow.
How can you do that?
Yes.
Well, I usually do, for example, online courses. I tell people go online, start looking into affiliate income, especially if you use big websites like Amazon, for example. Anything that you have in your home, if somebody likes it, maybe you can take a picture of it, start a blog, make some money from that. Those are examples. You could do product and service testing. There's so many ways that you can now make money from home after your 9 to 5.
Because a government minister recently said that people are just going to have to get a better job and earn some more money. She got a lot of stick for that, so you would agree with that?
No, as she should have got stick for that. I think there is a disconnect in her saying it. We have to do this because we have to, but we don't want to hear that from somebody who doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I think that is the key.
Well, that's the problem, I suppose you could say, with this government, particularly with the Chancellor at the moment. I gather, as I said, that if you have 2 households, 2 homes, you will get 2 lots of the £400. But he said if you can afford to do without that, you can send it back to the Treasury. And he said that's what he's going to do. Yeah. He's obviously become quite aware of the fact that telling us to tighten our belts coming from him is quite hard to take.
Absolutely.
Given that he's one of the wealthiest, he's on the Sunday Times rich list, isn't he?
We don't want to hear that from people who are overly privileged. They have options for additional sources of income that most people don't.
Yeah, but we voted for, the country voted for the Conservative Party. That's the man we've got in, and he's trying to do the best he can. And £21 billion, that was very generous. A lot of people talking about £15 billion, even £10 billion at the start of yesterday.
Yeah.
And he spent almost double that by the end of the day. He is helping or trying to help as much as he can.
One thing I'll give Rishi is that he does try and he does, where possible, deliver. And I think he takes things in increments, which is absolutely important in this economic time. So in all honesty, I like what Rishi is doing, and I just think he's trying his best. However, this has to just be the start. The public are going to need more help. People who are on benefits are going to need more help. People from low-income households are going to need more help.
I wonder what happens if you're in a flat share or something like that. That's you're paying one lot of energy bill, but between maybe 3 or 4 of you. Will you get 4 lots of £400 because you're 4 individuals, or will you just get the 400 for one property?
I'm sure it's just the 400 for one property.
Yes, I bet it is.
We wish it was per person.
Yeah. It's fascinating that you say that normally like this, you would be full of advice for people on how to save money, how to cut back, but you've come to the end of that already.
Yeah, you have to save. Talking to the public, how much cutting back can we do? You can say, OK, shop in a different supermarket, for example. I don't know, use coupons and all the cards available in stores that can help you save money. But eventually you say, no matter how much you save, this isn't enough. Our money cannot stretch that far, which means we now need to find ways to make more money.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people, when we talk about money like this and cutting back and saving, a lot of people watching at the moment say they were brought up to save. And they ask this question time and again: how many people complaining of food poverty or period poverty, we were talking about earlier, still consider owning a mobile phone a basic human right, and things like that? We do have a very different view of things now, don't we? We expect differently.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, as technology has advanced, there's certain things that I think we should have, even just for the sake of safety in today's world, having a mobile phone and having Wi-Fi. But we also have to look at the fact that we want to be able to live good lives. We live in the Western world for a reason. And we hope that the cost of living, we will be supported by that as opposed to...
But it's interesting, you said go online, see what you can do online.
Yeah.
That presupposes you have a computer or a tablet or something, and Wi-Fi probably, and some sort of broadband deal or whatever. That presupposes an expense already there, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'd hope most people do. And if for any reason you don't, then you go to a cafe if you can. You go to a library where you can use the public Wi-Fi. You can borrow computers and then stay for a while, make money that way.
Make money, that's your message. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
It's almost
Bola.
a bleak message, that,
Thank
isn't
you.
it?
Thank you very much. That's Bola Sol, their finance coach, joining us on GB News. Her message is make money, don't take money.
I bet there are a lot of people watching right now who would agree.
Yeah, it is 9:11. And by the way, if that's you, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Let's bring you up to date with what is happening this morning. Cleaners and security guards protesting outside Downing Street later amid anger over revelations in the Sue Gray report about the way staff were treated in number 10. United Voices of the World, they're a union which represents domestic and security workers in government buildings, says they're protesting against the culture of disrespect.
The British Transport Police are the first force to arm volunteer officers with tasers in England and Wales. Amnesty International UK says the move is dangerous and warn it could lead to misuse, serious harm and death.
Closing arguments are due in the £40 million defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. The Pirates of the Caribbean star is suing his former partner over a 2018 article she wrote, which lawyers say falsely implied he physically and sexually abused her.
And the CPS has authorised 4 charges of sexual assault against Hollywood actor Kevin Spacey, relating to 3 men. The former House of Cards star has not yet been formally charged, as he isn't in the UK at the moment.
Jubilee@gbnews.uk. That is the email address. We want you to get in touch with us.
Yes, if you've got anything you think would be interesting to share with other viewers, any stories or photographs of memorabilia or maybe of a day when you met the Queen, something like that, we're going to gather all of these things together so that we can celebrate fully and properly next weekend.
Yeah.
In fact, it's going to be a 4-day weekend. And it's going to celebrate, of course, Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Are you planning some celebrations at home or in your community? Do get in touch, don't you? What's the address again?
Jubilee@gbnews.uk. Let's now speak to the man who got Diana to say yes to the dress. I didn't write that, David. David Emmanuel, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Paul.
It was a very nice dress, though.
It was.
Oh, thank you.
A statement.
Yes, well, yes. How excited? As far as I don't get that excited about dresses, so it was very good. How excited are you for the Jubilee weekend?
Hugely excited. Come on. I mean, it's going to, it's a 4-day party. We have a bank holiday and it's crammed. The schedule is crammed. I mean, I'm concerned for Her Majesty the Queen. Not only we've got to applaud her for dedicating her life to the service of the Commonwealth here and the Commonwealth for 70 years. Extraordinary. Now, I live in Windsor, so whether I like it or not, I mean, the place is swamped full of tourists and visitors. I mean, every store is crammed full of memorabilia. And I had supper with some American friends last night in Windsor who've flown in for the event. So I said, well, what are you doing? Well, they're trying to cram in as much as they can. They've been to the Tower of London. They're aching to see the Queen, but they've been to Fortnum's. Now, as you know, Fortnum & Mason's is the Royal Warrant shop for Her Majesty the Queen. They bought some biscuits and some chocolate. And Fortnum's at this stage has run out of China, anything memorabilia China. So really, there's a huge challenge, actually, for the retailers to keep us consumers happy. But it's all out there. You go to Windsor, whether you want a printed tablecloth, whether you want a sequin little bag with a memorabilia, the signature on it, it's all there. we need an excuse, I think, Anne, don't we, to celebrate something. Look what we've been through. We've been through Brexit. We've been through a COVID pandemic. We've been through a war, or still gets through a war. And now we've got huge inflation. So that's doom and gloom. Let's try for one moment, first of all, appreciate the Queen and what she's done, but just divorce ourselves from that for a little bit and try to celebrate, because remarkable woman, quite remarkable.
Should we dress up, do you think? I think we should.
Oh, darling, come on, you girls, you love an excuse to dress up. Of course. You know, whether it's a Union Jack little T-shirt, I don't care, but we desperately need to celebrate, to get away from the madness, and it doesn't have to cost a fortune. But you know what's interesting? The royalists over here are very royal, and it's predicted. I was looking at the MRS have sent me a research and survey, and 8.1 million Brits are going to celebrate. In America, 43 million Americans are going to be tuned in. They want part of it, and now it's on radio, it's going to be on television, it's going to be online. I mean, there are many ways. And even if you can't turn up, you can celebrate in your little way. I was looking at a magazine shop in Windsor. Every cover, Anne, of every magazine is Her Majesty the Queen. I mean, she's this global star, a cover girl, icon. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. I bet there'll be quite a few street parties in Windsor as anywhere else. But I mean, Windsor is usually got lots of royal bunting all over the place, and they'll be
all
going
the time. It's up, and the flags are flying, and I should be going. Looking at the schedule, where is it? Here you go. Schedule's jam-packed. I mean, we've got June the 2nd. We've got the Trooping of the Colour.
Yeah.
Right, which was majestic, you know, amazing, the soldiers and the horses. Then, of course, we'll have the famous balcony scene. And then that evening, I should be in Windsor because they're lighting these beacons all around the capital cities of the Commonwealth. They're lighted, you know, beacons to celebrate. And it goes on. Friday, there's the service of Thanksgiving at St. Paul's Cathedral, which everybody will be glued to because they all want to see what the Duchess of Cambridge is going to wear, what other members of the family are going to wear. Then Saturday, the Derby. Well, as we know, the Queen has never had a winner at the Derby with her horses. And unfortunately, her horse this year has had to be pulled out. Then after the Derby, the Queen then has to change and zip back because there's the platinum party at the palace where every musician is clamming to perform. So, and then our day, our real day, is Sunday, June the 5th. That's when we can have our garden party or our street party and celebrate in our little way. It's an extended bank holiday. They've also, one of the messages coming out loud and strong is to plant a tree for Jubilee, which I think is wonderful. And then what are you going to take to this garden party or the street party? Well, I don't know if you saw the show with Mary Berry. She was judging all the desserts. And apparently the winner was a trifle.
Yeah.
Now, Anne, can you whip up a trifle?
No, but I could do red, white and blue jelly.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's a good way
and I
to
think in a
around
little way, you know, it pulls people together. It makes people more friendly. Whether you make a salad or a trifle or whatever, you know, just get together and celebrate. What hasn't she done for this country? 70 years of service. That's dedication.
David, do you think, I mean, I was at a concert the other night which ended with a lot of royal music and then the national anthem and the whole thing, it was the Albert Hall, everybody stood up and there was palpable emotion for her. Do you think she gets that? Do you think she understands that we, after all we've been through, still absolutely love her?
Of course she gets it. It should be hugely encouraged. How wonderful to stand there. Emotionally, as you said, it's supercharged. How wonderful. No, of course she gets it. She's human, you know. And rightly so. We should applaud this lady. With all the costume changes, with all the things, you know, 4 days of gigs, 4 days of turning up, looking immaculate, with the diamond brooch on the suit, takes a lot of work. And we just hope she can get through it all.
Yeah, because some people are divided, David, aren't they, on the royal family, and some people aren't fans, and some people question whether they should even be around. But generally speaking, everyone loves the Queen. Should people unite around the Queen herself?
Absolutely, totally. And more so with the Americans, royalists, they're going to spend a lot of money and bring a lot of money into this country. And I would just hope the retailers are up for it, because it's going to be big.
Yeah, and I know what you were saying about Windsor. My daughter goes to school in Windsor, and I've been flooded with emails constantly about how the school's celebrating the Jubilee concerts. I know there's a sort of a chocolate factory shop opposite Windsor Castle where they've got a special Platinum Jubilee edition. Yeah. You know, it's a real epicentre of Jubilee.
If I shop there, I go in very early in the morning before all the tourists arrive. Yeah. No, Windsor is geared up, but I think the whole country is geared up. And I think a wonderful excuse is to have a street party to pull everybody together. That's what we need.
Yeah,
it is. Well, I think most people are doing it. We're going to be at a street party all of next Sunday as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to the Derby, apparently.
Ooh.
Apparently I'm going to the Derby to see if the Queen... I think the Queen might be going. I'll be there for GBNews. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so hopefully she will turn up, and hopefully one of her... I don't know if her horses are being paraded or if they're racing. I don't know. I don't know a lot about horse racing.
No, well, apparently her top horses had to be pulled out because of ill health. So it's a shame, because she always wanted to win the Derby. She's won everything else, but that's a shame. But anyway,
it's a shame.
And the show goes on.
Yes, but exactly, and she's incredible in keeping the show rolling on, and may she do so for many more years. But it is quite a milestone, this one.
Yeah.
No British monarch has ever been on the throne this long.
Yeah. Isn't that extraordinary?
I know. It's
it is.
And I go back to her famous speech she made back in 1947, where she said, I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, should be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family, to which we all belong. And she stuck to that. Religiously has stuck to that through good times and bad times. And everybody's desperate to see her. They want to see her at Royal Ascot. Everybody, stretches their neck. They want a glimpse of her. And the more we see, the more we want. I think we have to realise now she is 96. And it's a huge schedule for her to get through. My goodness me. Just think of it. She's got to wake up, have her hair done, get into the frock, get into the pearls, the diamond brooch, and then whiz back to the palace for the bands and oh, my goodness.
I was going to ask you, as a designer, do you think that's why, conscious of the fact that we all stretch our necks to see if we can see her, and she is very little, that's why she's taken to wearing very bright colours nowadays?
Very almost fluorescent colours, because if you imagine the Queen when she arrives and she's in beige or pale cream, well, you wouldn't notice her. She's fluorescent, and she realises that people want to see her, and she wears she's always immaculately turned out. Yes, of course, she's got a dresser and she has people to look after her, but you've still got to turn up and do the gig.
Yeah, and it's going to be a once in a lifetime celebration across the country, because we're never going to see, or unlikely any of us to see, a Platinum Jubilee again.
Very unlikely.
It's going to be a very
I see. Commemoratively, if you hand over something, whether it's an official programme or a tea towel or a magazine or a newspaper, it doesn't cost a fortune. You can take something away from this. You don't have to spend, zillions of pounds. But the Americans certainly will be. They will be out there. As I said, these American friends, they're desperate. So they went to Fortnum's. They didn't have any memorabilia China. So I said, well, what did you do? I said, well, I've got to order it. I've got to have it before I go back to America. Extraordinary. So it's bringing in a lot of money into the country.
Yeah. And just very quickly, David, I know we're running out of time, but have you met the Queen yourself?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have.
So they can say to you, have you met the Queen?
But the most memorable one was the day of the wedding. I was at the throne room at Buckingham Palace helping organise Diana's gown for the photographs. And, it's the biggest photographic job in the world. You're in the throne room. And she tootled up to me and said, have you had any champagne? Because all the family were drinking champagne. I was working. I said, no. Within 2 seconds, I have a large glass of champagne given to me. And she's very caring. She looked round. Everybody else is celebrating. I'm working, as was my ex-wife Elizabeth. But like that, champagne. Brilliant.
Yeah. She's a good host. She knows how to throw back.
Were you a royalist before you got involved with the Diana dress? Because if you were, as you are now, it must have been so amazing to actually be commissioned to do that dress.
It was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And one little anecdote I can share with you, afterwards, I remember Diana saying, I knew every designer in the world wanted this commission, obviously. But she said, every designer sent in portfolios of sketches. Emmanuel didn't, but we got the job. So we were very, very low-key, very tight-lipped. And I'd learned that in my early days, student days at Hardy Amy's. You keep very low-key. Don't say anything, and got the job. And eventually, 700 million people tuned in to watch it. So...
Wow,
that was
what a start. Yeah, David, listen, we've got to leave it there because we're unfortunately we're squashed for time. We've really enjoyed having you on the programme this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. David Emmanuel there. Guy's got loads of stories.
Oh, gosh, so many stories.
Yeah. Great to hear from him, though. David Emmanuel, fashion designer there. Stay with us on GB News Breakfast. Good to have you with us. In just a moment, we're going to take a look at Meghan's visit to that Texas school shooting.
Yeah, she's come in for a lot of flack.
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update. Bit of a chilly one out there this morning, but for most of us, it's going to be a fine Friday with dry, bright weather, plenty of sunshine and lighter winds compared to yesterday. High pressure is slowly moving in and breaking up this weather front, bringing, as I say, for most of us, a fine day. But notice the isobars fairly close together there across Scotland, so still quite windy here with a fair few showers coming in, mostly north of the central belt. But showers on the heavy side in places this morning before easing off this afternoon. From the central belt southwards, the vast majority staying dry. Certainly plenty of sunshine across the Midlands, Wales, southern and eastern England, and lighter winds compared to yesterday. And although it's a bit fresh out there right now, temperatures ticking up by this afternoon, feeling pretty pleasant, 21, maybe 22 Celsius. Cooler further north and certainly still pretty fresh for the time of year in northern Scotland with a few showers and a stiff wind. The showers will continue to fade through this evening. Most of us are going to be dry. Temperatures will drop quite sharply this evening, though, so bear that in mind if you have outdoor plans. It's going to be another chilly one tonight and a pretty cold start to Saturday for the time of year, well down into single figures. Certainly in rural areas, we could be as low as 2 or 3 degrees. So, yes, chilly for Saturday morning, but again, it's going to be a blue sky morning, lots of sunshine around. Again, the main exception will be northeast Scotland, where it'll still be breezy with maybe a few showers. Cloud is expected to develop through the day tomorrow, particularly over eastern England. There's a small chance of a shower or two here, but for most, it's going to stay dry. Again, temperature's not spectacular, but feeling okay in the sunshine. A cooler feel on some of these North Sea coasts as that northerly breeze continues. And that's going to be very evident on Sunday, bringing much more cloud across the country. Quite a grey day and a chilly day as well. But still on Sunday, many of us will be dry.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello again, it's 9:30. Now, we're feeling very royal this morning because we're beginning, it's going to happen more and more, isn't it? It's going to build. All of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations coming our way.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. The Platinum Jubilee next week. In the meantime, also this morning, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will reportedly join the Queen at St Paul's Cathedral next Friday. This will be their first appearance at a royal event in a long time, so it should be interesting.
And the newspapers are also saying that Prince Andrew is going to play a part in the Garter ceremony at Windsor as well, which a lot of people thought he would not now be doing since he was stepping down from royal duties. Just what is going on? Let's find out from the Daily Express's Royal Roundup reporter, Pandora Forsyth.
Hello.
Hello, hi. So this is all very peculiar. It's like we're being drip fed information. We don't really know how true any of it is.
Well, I mean, we've seen this on the lead up throughout the Jubilee celebrations. And of course, in the past couple of years, you know, there's been various things happening within the royal family. And essentially, we won't really know until the day. It's the same with the Queen's appearance. We won't know until the day. We do know that she's had mobility issues. That has been reported. She has come out, you know, she has been to various events now. But again, it will just depend on the
whether
day.
she has a good day or not.
Yes.
I mean, at that age, and if you've got mobility issues, could be anything, but it means that some days you have good days and some days you have bad days. And she'll presumably do what she's up to doing.
She looks like she's been smiling. I haven't seen her smile this much for a long time. Like, last few days, she's been really smiling when she turned up to the opening of Crossrail. And then there was another event she turned up to, and she's been smiling a lot.
And also, I think it's very much a case of she's going to the events, actually, that she wants to genuinely go to. You know, when we saw the opening of the Elizabeth line, she seemed really, really happy.
She did.
And, you know, and I think it's just a case, you know, she's in her 90s, case of taking care of herself and having a bit of a rest, you know.
OK, but I wonder as well how much of an opinion she's got about, for instance, Prince Andrew. Right. Because when she was at the commemorative service. She did have Prince Andrew walk her to her seat.
She did.
And so she feels he's still my son. And so he was allowed to do that. But will he appear on the balcony? We're told no, because it's only going to be working royals. But now we hear that he will be taking part in a Order of the Garter ceremony.
Well, I mean, this is all unconfirmed, so this is just reports and sources. I mean, I would be surprised if we didn't see him at all. She has made quite clear that, you know, she does want him by her side. And, you know, at the end of the day, it is about her. And I think, you know, we should be respecting that decision. She also evidently has heard the public opinion, and that's why he won't be on the balcony. He's not a working royal, and, you know, it will only be senior working royals. It's the same with Harry and Meghan. They're not going to be up there either. So I think it's, you know, a delicate balancing act. But yeah, I think we will see him at some point.
Yeah, we've also been talking about Meghan Markle this morning because she visited the site of that school shooting in Texas, didn't she?
Indeed, yes, she did. That was a personal visit. I think in the case of Meghan, you know, she's damned as she does, she's damned as she doesn't.
She took a camera crew with her.
Well, I mean,
it is said in some newspapers.
Wherever she goes, she will be followed by cameras. I don't actually think she needs to take a camera crew with her because she knows that there would be cameras there anyway.
Well, she's got Netflix following her around, doesn't she?
She does. And, you know, it's a case of if she didn't, then I'm sure people would say, oh, why hasn't she?
Well, they wouldn't, would they? Because she doesn't have a role to play in this. It's not like, if it happened in Britain, God forbid, we would expect a senior royal
I'll be honest,
I
wasn't thinking, where is Meghan Markle when I heard about this?
I will say, though, we did see with the Sarah Everard case, the Duchess of Cambridge went to the...
But she has a role to play. We would expect a
senior
royal
working
to go.
royal.
Yes,
Whereas Meghan went to have her picture taken, is what a lot of people are saying.
Is what a lot of people are saying. So, yeah, I mean, it's very much a case of if she doesn't, you know, they'll say, why didn't you? And if she did, they say, well, why are you doing that either? So, I mean, it's,
are you
again...
pro-Meghan or an anti-Meghan?
I can understand people's views when... you know, she says she wants to back down from the limelight, step down as a senior role. They wanted privacy. That's why they went to the US. I mean,
and have done nothing but appear on talk shows and do documentaries
and Oprah and all the rest of it. So, I mean, yeah, I can understand people's frustrations, and I, at times, can get frustrated myself because I think, what are you doing?
Yeah, everyone will be wondering, they won't be on the balcony for the Platinum Jubilee, but where will they be?
Yes, the press will be asking that,
yes.
won't they? All the time.
Yeah, all the time. And I also think they have to understand, you know, it's about the Queen. It's not about them, actually.
It's not about you.
Yeah, it's not about you.
Do you think they will understand that?
So, yeah, no. But we'll see all the senior royals up there, you know, the Cambridges, the Wessexes. They'll be all on the balcony. And again, you know, just because Harry and Meghan aren't there, I'm sure millions of people around the world will be tuning into that special
It is going to be huge, isn't it?
Oh, massive. Absolutely
I presume
massive.
something like a national newspaper, they've called in everybody, have they?
Yeah.
Because there'll be so many pages worth.
Yes, yeah. Will you be so busy you kind of almost won't enjoy it, even though it is kind of something you're interested in?
Well, actually, my birthday lands on that weekend as
well.
God.
Oh, wow, OK, right.
So I have taken one day off, but, you know, we can see...
You think you have?
I think I have, and then I'm going to probably get a phone call. But, you know, we'll see street parties all over the country. You know, we've all seen the bunting. I know where I live, and even on the way in today, seeing all the bunting in London and nationwide, we'll see so many street parties. You know, people all get involved, and I think this is an opportunity as well for people who don't necessarily, you know, follow the royal family. You know, they will also be partaking in it. So, yeah, no, it's a very exciting time.
No, we haven't put any bunting up.
I'm beginning to feel guilty. I haven't.
But no, well, you're just not a patriot, are you?
No, I don't know whether I put a little waving queen.
I'm only joking.
I saw on sale you can get a cardboard cutout of the Queen to put in your window.
I would like that.
Yes,
really?
Yeah. But
I like that.
Quite expensive.
Oh,
so
yeah, everything is.
Oh, sorry, it's about £40 or something online. I thought for a bit of cardboard.
Yeah, well, there is a cost of living crisis, and it's an angle we haven't looked at. You know, cardboard cutouts of the Queen that wave. You know,
well, I still
rising
say you
and
can make red, white, and blue jelly. Oh, actually, white.
That was a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be white, would it? I've never heard of white.
We need some sort of cocktail or something to go alongside it.
Yeah, actually, in bunting-related story, there is a town somewhere in England, I can't remember where it was, where they've been told to take down the bunting because it's too noisy. I can't remember where it is.
Noisy bunting?
Noisy bunting. So they've been told to take it down, apparently. Yeah, don't know where that is. I'll have to find that out.
Anyway, fascinating stuff. You're going to be very busy next week.
I will indeed.
Actually, we're all going to be busy in the lead up to it. I think we're going to get more and more excited, certainly about the weather, because that's another thing we like to talk about.
Yeah, Pandora, thanks for speaking to us. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Pandora Forsyth.
Do stay with us. We've got plenty more to come, including your GB views on your favourite Abba song.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was, in fact, a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping it.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. What was that all?
2010. I was just thinking, we were talking about Meghan Markle there and visiting the Texas shooting scene and laying white roses, I think, at the the sort of memorial site.
Yeah.
And she's come under a lot of stick in social media for doing it. A, because it is thought she was doing it so that a photograph would go viral, which it did. And a lot of stick for, of course, her father has had a very serious stroke in the last 48 hours. And people were saying, oh, it's interesting you can go to the memorial for these children that you didn't know and you can't even do anything, allegedly, for your own father.
Yeah.
Who's just had a very serious stroke.
Yeah, so she was there with her Netflix crew and official photographer, just happened to pop in. We were also talking about bunting before, because we were talking about...
Noisy bunting.
Noisy bunting, and I couldn't remember where it was, but this is Sheerness in Kent. Townsall County chiefs have been asked to take down the bunting because it is too noisy. Locals let the council know the bunting was a nuisance. They want to do something different. New bunting has been ordered, but it will not arrive in time for the occasion, apparently.
Why is it noisy?
I guess because it flaps about in the wind. Yeah, plastic bunting. There you go. Anyway, more on that as and when we have it.
Get a sense of patriotism.
Yeah, and lots of you getting in touch with us this morning about a range of topics, from Rishi Sunak's help with the cost of living to Abba.
Yeah. Lots of your favourite Abba songs.
Yeah.
Lots of those. And also still talking an awful lot about the cost of living crisis and Rishi Sunak's package and whether it's going to help. Tony in St Edmunds says the £400 only covers a third of our price increase for heating. With more increases to come next year, it's hardly a major help for many.
Yeah, Rosemary says, how can we not be grateful for the help being given by the government? Barnes says, I am disabled and on a low income. However, I know the government cannot fix every problem. The cost of energy is nothing the government can control. So I assume, Barnes, you'll be getting that extra £150 from Rishi Sunak.
Gordon in Leicester says, I'll take whatever I'm given. I won't have to pay it back. The young will.
Yeah, and Gary says, Rishi is a classic case that the rich and overprivileged should not be in positions of power, as what they are responsible for changing would never ever be it would never affect them personally, nor would they ever wholeheartedly understand the consequences of their actions.
Gosh, it's inflamed quite a few opinions, hasn't it, today?
Indeed.
Now, an England fan who was subjected to a violent attack by Russian supporters at Euro 2016 is spearheading a campaign to raise awareness of brain injuries.
Andrew Batch was beaten around the head with iron bars and is now unable to work, drive or lead a normal life. He says the effects of brain injuries are often unnoticed and misunderstood.
Our South West of England reporter Jeff Moody went to meet him.
Andrew Bache can't remember going to France for the football. He can't remember the attack that nearly killed him. But he can remember doctors telling him he'd suffered a life-changing injury to his brain.
I've also been told that I've got to give myself more credit. Because I don't... Well, I think it's always been the same with me. I don't give myself enough credit for things. And like pat on the back time. I mean, I'm the one who gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and feeds the dog and makes sure the dog's out. And I'm the one who takes the dog for a walk. I look after my flat myself. And I just take it... I take that as normal.
Andrew says his positive attitude is thanks to Headway, an organisation that supports people with brain injuries and helps them adjust to their new life.
And so it enables you to realise that you're not as stupid as you thought you were. That's what that's what it does to me.
It does it to thousands of others too. Around 350,000 people a year are admitted to hospital with brain injuries. That's 1 in every 90 seconds. The organisation offers practical help as well as drop-in sessions where people can feel supported, where they're understood. And that's the message that organisations like this are very keen to get across. Brain injuries are classified as a physical disability, but for many people, you can't see it. You don't know that it's there. That's why they call it the hidden disability.
An example could be that someone that has a brain injury is at a checkout at a supermarket and is maybe struggling with paying, and then people behind maybe will make some comments because they don't fully understand what's wrong. They find that upsetting. So what we're looking at doing is just making people more aware that don't judge or jump to conclusions, because there may be a genuine reason why people are behaving like that.
Compassion is key, says Andrew, and Headway supplies that in spades, rebuilding self-esteem when life has fallen apart. Jeff Moody, GB News.
There we are, a very brave man and a great campaign.
Absolutely. It is GB News Breakfast. Really good to have you with us this morning, 9:45. The Queen has had a close relationship with the British Armed Forces over the course of her 70-year reign. And today, a new exhibition opens, which documents a series of rare photographs of Her Majesty at the Imperial War Museum in London.
Well, ahead of the Platinum Jubilee, our royal reporter Cameron Walker got a sneak peek.
This is the Gaumont British News, presenting the truth to the free peoples of the world.
By early 1945, the Second World War was nearly over and Britain was close to victory. An 18-year-old Princess Elizabeth became the first female member of the royal family to enlist in the armed forces full-time. In the year of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, pictures of Her Majesty form part of a new exhibition at the Imperial War Museum. The curator, Kate Clements, thinks visitors will get a unique insight.
We haven't done anything like this before, and so it's really exciting for us to be able to draw together a range of photographs, also film elsewhere, and we've got some objects on display too that visitors can interact with and learn more about the links between royalty and wartime.
Handling an army ambulance isn't always as simple as it looks, but the Princess has won her commanding officer's praise as an excellent and considerate driver.
In Britain, women took on key roles so men could fight on the front line. Princess Elizabeth joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service and qualified as a driver and mechanic. It gave the future Queen the chance to interact with ordinary young women of her age, a rare chance for her to live a relatively normal life. But it also perhaps cemented her call of duty, as Kate points out.
The wartime years were pretty important to her. She learnt a lot about the importance of duty. She saw her parents were very present. They didn't hide away. They were visible for the population in this time of national crisis. And I think she learnt from that. And she also felt a sense of wanting to also do her part.
Throughout her 70-year reign, the Queen has lived through times of conflict. Her Majesty is head of the armed forces. They swear allegiance to her. Perhaps the photographs featured in the Crown and Conflict exhibition show how her role has been shaped by her wartime experiences. But wartime leads to peacetime, and Her Majesty's Armed Forces can show off their ceremonial duties too. Next week, the Royal Air Force, Royal Navy and British Army will take part in the Queen's birthday parade and flypast. A royal salute to Queen Elizabeth's lifetime of service. Cameron Walker, GB News, London.
Lovely Jubilee.
It's a long time since I lived in London, but when I did, my children were little, and when there were big fly-pasts or march-pasts or state openings of Parliament or something, we often used to take the kids down to the mall and just watch the soldiers march past, and it was brilliant. I'd love to see the fly-past, because if you're in the mall, that's where the fly-past is directed to.
Yeah.
So it literally flies down.
It's going to be amazing. The mall during the Jubilee, and there's going to be a big concert there, and Queen are going to be there, and Sam Ryder, is it Sam Ryder? I think, from Eurovision. The guy who won Eurovision.
I'm not
not
so
won
interested
Eurovision,
in
came
the
second.
concert. I'm interested in the marching and the fly past and all that sort of waving your Union Jack. It's good fun.
And that'll be good as well. It'll be a great occasion. So lots to come. And by the way, Jubilee at gbnews.uk. If you want to let us know about your meetings with the Queen, your memory to the Queen.
Any photographs would be lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to gather it all together. And,
or any memorabilia you might have, old memorabilia or some royal stuff, just take a picture of it and send it to us.
Yeah.
Because we'll gather it all together and make a sort of, I don't know, a video exhibition or something.
That's right, yeah, a little montage, and we'll go through it through the Jubilee weekend. We'll be all over the Jubilee here on GB News.
But the weather better be good, because we're out at a street party.
Hopefully.
Yeah, in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, OK. Maybe have you
the weather better be really nice.
Yeah, hopefully it will be.
Have to have a word with somebody.
Yeah, but we'll muster through, because we're British, even if it's raining, right?
Yeah, I know. I've done so many outside broadcasts, and you pray for good weather, but you always take your welly boots and anorak and a big umbrella. And I've done so many outside broadcasts where I am standing under an umbrella, and I think, why am I out here? Because the viewers at home can't see anything but an umbrella.
Yeah.
Can't see where I am. What's the point of being there?
Yeah. True.
Anyway, let's hope it's not going to rain. It's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah, to literally soak it all up. It is 10 to 10. Let's talk all about... I don't like the word showbiz. I like entertainment news.
Abba.
Abba. Yeah, let's talk about Abba with broadcaster Amy Nicol. Hi, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Yeah, good, thanks.
There's lots of showbiz news around today. But we can't ignore, we can't ignore Abba.
Kick it off with a bit of Abba. And I've heard you already saying what is the audience's favourite Abba song. So I thought I want to ask you, what are your favourite Abba songs?
Waterloo.
That's what I said hours ago, and you said you'd forgotten Waterloo.
I had, but because when you said it, it popped back in my head, and it's been going around in my head all morning. I do like Knowing Me, Knowing You as well, but that is because I'm a big Alan Partridge fan as well.
Thank you for the music. It's nice. Well, I mean, there are so many, aren't there?
There are so many, and I think that's why we need to talk about what happened last night. So ABBA were back for the first time in 39 years. So that's the first time in my lifetime. I've never seen this happen before. But they weren't back as you might expect. They were back via hologram. So this is a new show, their new show called Voyage, where they've brought back old footage. They've recreated and put forward themselves as holograms from the 1970s. So at times on stage, Benny said things like, "Oh, don't I look good for my age?" Because of course he looks fantastic, because it's the 1970s version. So you're transported back in time to experience an ABBA show from the 1970s. There was a star-studded red carpet, as you might expect. Kylie Minogue was there, Keira Knightley was there, Zara Larsson was there. Unexpectedly, Jarvis Cocker was present. Kate Moss there, fresh from her testimony at the Johnny Depp trial. And of course, GB News' very own Dan Wootton, who was not going to miss this. So he wasn't on the show that we do together last night because he was at ABBA instead, with Benjamin Butterworth on the red carpet. It needed to be seen to be believed. Some people had their reservations about how holograms were going to work, because I think previously people haven't always been such a big fan of the end result. But it looked brilliant. People have rave reviews already, and many people are saying they think it's the future. It took a lot to get there. So apparently 1 billion hours of computer footage was used to create the end result. But they've got their fingers crossed that it's going to do well, because they're looking to recoup the 130 million that it cost to put on. But if you want to get a ticket, then you've got until December, Christmas time, to catch it in action. And I really, really, really want to go now after reading all the reviews, because it sounds absolutely fantastic. But guess what? This surprised me. So in terms of the set list, they missed out Super Trooper. No Super Trooper.
What?
And
I mean, there are a lot of great ABBA songs, but that is a classic to miss out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've got to go see it if you want to see what it's all about. And then also, I've already heard you talking about it today, Meghan Markle's visit to Texas. So the Duchess of Sussex has paid a visit to lay a bouquet of white roses to commemorate the 21 young lives lost in this absolute tragedy. She laid her cross at the youngest victim's cross. It's 8-year-old Uzziah Garcia. She appeared to be only accompanied by her bodyguard, but there are some rumours that her Netflix cameras may have been with her as well. Now, in her defence, she has been a very vocal voice in the debates around gun laws. She's spoken before about the need to end gun violence. So I hope that if they were there, they were in the capacity to promote that message rather than her personally. Her spokesperson has said it was a completely personal visit and she appeared there in her capacity as a mother. She has previously spoken a lot about the issues. And she did reportedly, Prince Harry gave up his rifle collection shortly after they met because it's something that she feels so passionately about. And as your commentator said earlier, Kate Middleton, of course, visited the Sarah Everard vigil. So I think maybe we need to look a bit more openly at Meghan Markle's appearance in Texas. She also visited a community centre and dropped off some food. Apparently was chatting to the people that work in there and just asking them about their lives, and she was sharing about hers. Made the trip from California on a private jet, which some people already had their reservations about. But all in all, I think this is it's a good thing that she went there. Of course, her dad is suffering some ill health at the moment. Yeah. He is in hospital after suffering a stroke. But that's all we really know about that story at this time. Do you want a couple more?
Yes, I'm very interested. Have we got time? No, we've got no time.
We're going to have to wrap it up there, I'm afraid, Amy. Sorry, we're out of time. But thank you. Thank you for speaking to us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll catch up with the rest of the gossip.
Amy Nicole there. Yes, more gossip. Gossip? I thought it was showbiz news.
Yeah, it's a bit of gossip, isn't it, really?
It really is gossip, isn't it?
OK, well, that's it from us today. Do join us again tomorrow. I'm going to be on with Ellie tomorrow because you're off, aren't you?
Yep.
And as I said, if you're wondering where Stephen is, he's still on his honeymoon, but we'll catch up with his news next weekend. See you tomorrow, bright and early, 6 o'clock.
Good morning, Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update. Bit of a chilly one out there this morning, but for most of us, it's going to be a fine Friday with dry, bright weather, plenty of sunshine and lighter winds compared to yesterday. High pressure is slowly moving in and breaking up this weather front, bringing, as I say, for most of us, a fine day. But notice the isobars fairly close together there across Scotland, so still quite windy here with a fair few showers coming in, mostly north of the central belt. But showers on the heavy side in places this morning before easing off this afternoon. From the central belt southwards, the vast majority staying dry. Certainly plenty of sunshine across the Midlands, Wales, southern and eastern England, and lighter winds compared to yesterday. And although it's a bit fresh out there right now, temperatures ticking up by this afternoon, feeling pretty pleasant, 21, maybe 22 Celsius. Cooler further north and certainly still pretty fresh for the time of year in northern Scotland with a few showers and a stiff wind. The showers will continue to fade through this evening. Most of us are going to be dry. Temperatures will drop quite sharply this evening, though, so bear that in mind if you have outdoor plans. It's going to be another chilly one tonight and a pretty cold start to Saturday for the time of year, well down into single figures. Certainly in rural areas, we could be as low as 2 or 3 degrees. So, yes, chilly for Saturday morning, but again, it's going to be a blue sky morning, lots of sunshine around. Again, the main exception will be north.